A silver spacecraft materializes above Central Park, descending on a great lawn as New Yorkers gape in astonishment. The hatch opens. An alien female emerges, blue-skinned, silver-haired, purple-eyed, and completely nude. This is Maya, and she's about to upend humanity's understanding of first contact. Maya steps onto the grass, her voluptuous form drawing stunned stares. "I am here for pleasure," she announces in flawless English. "Satisfy me, now." The alien's brazen demand sends shockwaves through the growing crowd. Some flee in terror, while others surge forward, eager to volunteer. NYPD officers rush to establish a perimeter, radios crackling with frantic calls for backup. They've never faced a situation like this. How does one handle an extraterrestrial demanding public intimacy? Robert Robertson, a 35-year-old park maintenance worker, watches from behind a nearby oak tree. His heart races as he recognizes the alien. He's seen her kind before in classified files he glimpsed while cleaning a top-secret government facility. The beings were called Iconians, an advanced species humanity had monitored for decades. Robert's mind reels. The Iconians possess technology capable of obliterating Earth. Is Maya's outrageous request a test? One that could determine humanity's fate? He debates whether to reveal his knowledge or remain hidden as chaos unfolds around him. Maya's patience wears thin. Her eyes glow with an otherworldly light as she unleashes her telepathic abilities. Nearby humans stop in their tracks, eyes glazing over. They turn as one and begin walking towards the alien, arms outstretched. The whump-whump-whump of approaching helicopters fills the air. Military aircraft race towards Central Park, intent on containing the potential threat. But they may already be too late. Robert realizes he could be humanity's only hope. His knowledge of the Iconians might be the key to navigating this precarious first contact without triggering an interstellar incident. But revealing himself could mean death, or worse. As enthralled humans close in on Maya and military forces converge, Robert must decide. Stay hidden and safe, or step forward and potentially save the world. The fate of humanity hangs in the balance, all because an alien girl arrived on Earth and demanded to be pleasured in a public park. Robert's heart pounded as he watched the scene unfold before him. The enthralled humans moved closer to Maya, their eyes vacant and arms outstretched. Military helicopters thundered overhead, closing in on Central Park. Time was running out. Taking a deep breath, Robert stepped out from behind the oak tree. He pushed through the crowd, fighting against the tide of entranced New Yorkers. As he approached Maya, he felt a powerful force attempting to cloud his mind. Drawing on his knowledge of the Iconians, he steeled himself against the alien's telepathic influence. "Iconian," Robert called out, his voice cutting through the chaos. "I know who you are." Maya's glowing purple eyes snapped to him, her concentration broken. The telepathic hold on the other humans wavered, and they stumbled back, confused and disoriented. "You know of us?" Maya asked, her melodious voice tinged with surprise. Robert nodded, keeping his voice low as he drew closer. "I've seen classified files about your species. I understand the gravity of the situation, and I have a proposition." Maya's silver eyebrows arch with interest. "Speak quickly, human. My patience wears thin." "I can satisfy your request," Robert said, choosing his words carefully. "But not here. We need privacy to avoid an interstellar incident. Please, release these people and come with me." The alien studied him for a moment, her iridescent skin shimmering in the sunlight. Finally, she nodded, releasing her mental grip on the crowd entirely. People blinked and shook their heads, looking around in bewilderment. "Lead the way," Maya commanded. Robert took Maya's hand, marveling at the tingling sensation that spread through his fingers at the contact. He guided her away from the great lawn, weaving through the park's winding paths. The sound of approaching helicopters grew louder, spurring them to move faster. They reached a small, weathered maintenance shed nestled among a cluster of trees. Robert fumbled with his keys, acutely aware of Maya's nude form behind him. He opened the door and ushered her inside. The shed was cramped and cluttered with tools and supplies. A small workbench stood against one wall, barely visible in the dim light filtering through a dusty window. Robert closed the door, his heart racing as he turned to face Maya. "This is not ideal," he admitted, gesturing to their surroundings. Maya's lips curved into a smile. "It will suffice." She stepped closer, her alien scent filling Robert's nostrils, a mix of ozone and something sweet he couldn't identify. As their bodies touched, a pleasant tingling sensation spread across his skin. Robert's hands trembled as he ran them along Maya's curves, marveling at the smoothness of her blue skin. Their lips met, and Robert gasped at the intensity of the sensation. It was like kissing a live wire, but pleasurable instead of painful. As their encounter intensified, Robert noticed strange, luminescent symbols appearing on Maya's skin. They pulsed with an otherworldly light, shifting and changing with each touch. A surge of energy coursed through their bodies, and Robert cried out, overwhelmed by the alien sensations. At the moment of climax, a burst of energy erupted from them, shorting out the single light bulb hanging from the ceiling and plunging them into darkness. As they caught their breath, Robert became aware of a faint pulsing light. The symbols on Maya's skin glowed brightly in the darkness, casting otherworldly patterns on the shed's walls. That was incredible, Robert panted, still reeling from the experience. Maya's eyes shimmered in the dim light. It was more than physical pleasure, Robert Robertson. It was a test, one that you passed. A test? Robert's brow furrowed. What do you mean? My people, the Iconians, face a genetic crisis, Maya explained, her voice solemn. We've searched the galaxy for a species compatible with our own. Your ability to resist my telepathy and your genetic compatibility make you, and by extension, humanity, uniquely suited to help us. Robert's mind raced, trying to process the implications of her words. So, this whole thing, coming to Earth demanding satisfaction, it was all to find out if we're compatible? Maya nodded. Your world's response to this encounter will determine whether we view Earth as a potential ally or a threat. Before Robert could respond, they heard voices outside the shed. Flashlight beams swept across the small window as search parties combed the park. We need to get you back to your ship, Robert said urgently. Staying hidden will only make things worse. Maya agreed, her expression serious. Lead the way, Robert. The future of our species may depend on what happens next. Robert cracked open the shed door, peering out into the park. In the distance, he could see the glow of Maya's ship, surrounded by military vehicles and personnel. Searchlights crisscrossed the park, and the air thrummed with the sound of helicopters. It won't be easy, Robert whispered, turning back to Maya. But I think I know a way we can get there without being seen. Are you ready? Maya's eyes glowed with commitment. Let us proceed. The true test of our species' compatibility is about to begin. Robert and Maya stepped out of the maintenance shed, their eyes darting around the darkened park. The distant thrum of helicopters grew louder, sending a shiver down Robert's spine. We need to move, he whispered, gently taking Maya's hand. I know some hidden paths that might keep us out of sight. Maya nodded, her luminescent skin casting a soft blue glow in the darkness. Robert's eyes widened as he realized the potential danger. Your skin, he hissed. It's glowing. We need to cover you up. They crept along the edge of a nearby construction site, Robert's eyes scanning for anything they could use. A discarded tarp caught his attention, and he quickly snatched it up. It's not much, but it should help, he said, draping the rough material over Maya's shoulders. The alien's otherworldly glow dimmed, concealed beneath the makeshift cloak. Robert led Maya through a series of winding paths, his years of experience as a park maintenance worker guiding their steps. They ducked under low-hanging branches and slipped through narrow gaps between boulders, the sounds of the search parties growing more distant. As they emerged from a dense thicket, a figure suddenly loomed before them. Robert instinctively pushed Maya behind him, his heart pounding. "Wait!" A woman's voice cut through the darkness. "I'm not here to hurt you." The figure stepped forward, revealing a middle-aged woman with short, graying hair and intense eyes. She held up her hands in a gesture of peace. "I'm Dr. Elizabeth Morgan, xenobiologist," she said quickly. "I'm here to help." Robert hesitated, his body tense. "How do I know we can trust you?" Dr. Morgan's eyes flickered to Maya, barely concealed beneath the tarp. "Because I've been studying the possibility of alien life for years. This is the moment I've been waiting for, and I'm not about to let the military ruin our first contact." Maya stepped forward, her purple eyes studying Dr. Morgan intently. "She speaks the truth, Robert. Her mind is open and curious, not hostile." Dr. Morgan's eyes widened at Maya's words. "Fascinating. Telepathic abilities?" "We don't have time for a scientific discussion," Robert interrupted. "We need to get Maya back to her ship." Dr. Morgan nodded, reaching into her pocket and producing two small devices. "These are communication earpieces. They'll allow us to stay in contact and share information about military movements." As Robert and Maya inserted the earpieces, Dr. Morgan continued, "I have a team scattered throughout the park. They'll help us avoid the search parties." They set off again, with Dr. Morgan providing updates on military positions. As they navigated through a particularly dense area of the park, Maya suddenly stumbled, her breath coming in sharp gasps. "Maya?" Robert turned, concern etching his features. "What's wrong?" The alien's skin flickered, shifting through various shades of blue. "The mating process," she panted. "It's changing me, making me more susceptible to your world atmosphere." Dr. Morgan's scientific curiosity warred with her concern. "We need to get her to the ship as quickly as possible. Her physiology is adapting rapidly, and we don't know what effects it might have." They increased their pace, Robert supporting Maya as they moved through the park. The distant sound of voices made them freeze, pressing themselves against a rocky outcropping. "Civilians," Dr. Morgan whispered, peering around the edge. "They must have snuck past the military cordon." Before they could retreat, a young couple rounded the corner, their eyes widening at the sight of Maya. The woman let out a piercing scream, and chaos erupted. Robert found himself separated from Maya and Dr. Morgan in the confusion. He spun around, desperately searching for them in the darkness. The sound of running feet and shouting voices filled the air as more people converged on their location. "Maya!" Robert called out, his voice lost in the commotion. He pushed through the gathering crowd, his heart racing. Suddenly, Dr. Morgan's voice crackled in his ear. "Robert, I'm creating a diversion. Get Maya to the ship." He spotted Maya's glowing form at the edge of the crowd, her cloak discarded in the chaos. As he reached her, a pulse of energy emanated from her body, causing nearby smartphones to fritz and spark. "We need to go," Robert urged, supporting Maya as they slipped away from the growing crowd. They ran through the park, Maya's condition deteriorating with each step. Her skin pulsed with energy, interfering with the earpiece and leaving them without Dr. Morgan's guidance. As they neared the Great Lawn, the sight of Maya's spacecraft came into view. It hovered above the ground, surrounded by a shimmering force field. Military personnel swarmed around its perimeter, their attempts to breach the barrier resulting in spectacular bursts of energy. Robert and Maya crouched behind a cluster of bushes, surveying the scene. The alien's breathing was labored, her skin fluctuating rapidly between shades of blue. "We're almost there," Robert reassured her, his mind racing to find a way past the military cordon. Suddenly, a low hum emanated from the spacecraft. Lights along its surface began to pulse in a rhythmic pattern. Maya's eyes widened in alarm. "The ship," she gasped. "It's initiating an emergency departure sequence. If we don't reach it in time, it will leave without me." Robert's blood ran cold as he realized the implications. If the ship left, the Iconian fleet in orbit might view it as a hostile act. The consequences could be catastrophic. He looked from the heavily guarded spacecraft to Maya's weakening form, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. Make a desperate dash for the ship and risk exposure? Or find another way to buy time and ensure Maya's safe return? As the spacecraft's hum grew louder and the military's attempts to breach the force field intensified, Robert knew he had to act fast. The fate of human-Iconian relations, and possibly the future of both species, hung in the balance. As the spacecraft's hum intensified, Robert's eyes darted around, searching for any possible solution. Suddenly, his gaze fell upon a familiar sight, his maintenance cart, parked just a few yards away. "Maya, I have an idea," he whispered urgently. "Can you walk?" The alien nodded weakly, her skin flickering with pulses of energy. Robert wrapped his arm around her waist, supporting her as they made their way to the cart. He helped Maya inside, quickly covering her with a tarp to conceal her alien features. "Stay down and try to conserve your strength," Robert instructed as he started the vehicle. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for what came next. With practiced ease, Robert began driving towards a great lawn, his park employee uniform and familiarity with the area allowing him to blend in with the chaos around them. As they approached the ship, Robert could feel Maya's condition worsening. The cart's electronics began to flicker and malfunction, the steering wheel vibrating under his hands. He glanced back, seeing the tarp covering Maya pulsing with an otherworldly glow. "We're almost there," he assured her, his knuckles tightening on the steering wheel. Suddenly, the cart's engine sputtered and died. Robert cursed under his breath, realizing they'd have to cover the remaining distance on foot. He abandoned the vehicle, helping Maya out and supporting her as they stumbled towards the force field surrounding the spacecraft. The energy emanating from Maya's body intensified with each step, creating a visible aura that attracted the attention of nearby soldiers and onlookers. Shouts of alarm rang out as people pointed at the strange pair making their way across the lawn. Robert's mind raced, knowing they couldn't reach the ship undetected. In a split-second decision, he scooped Maya into his arms and began running towards the force field. "Stand down!" he shouted at the top of his lungs, his voice carrying across the tense silence that had fallen over the area. "She needs help." Chaos erupted among the gathered forces. Some soldiers raised their weapons, while others called for restraint, unsure how to handle the situation. Robert's heart pounded in his ears as he pushed forward, Maya's glowing form cradled against his chest. As they neared the force field, a commanding voice cut through the commotion. "Hold your fire." A tall, distinguished man in a general's uniform stepped forward from the crowd. His intense look swept over Robert and Maya before addressing the soldiers. "I am General Marcus Blackwood. Stand down, all of you. That's an order." Robert slowed his pace, surprise and confusion warring with his desperation to reach the ship. The general's next words made him stumble. "We've been expecting this, Robertson. Let's not make the situation any worse than it needs to be." Before Robert could process this revelation, the ship's countdown sequence reached a critical stage. The force field began to fluctuate, creating gaps that pulsed with energy. Without hesitation, Robert lunged forward, passing through one of the openings with Maya. As soon as they entered the protected area, the field stabilized behind them, cutting off any pursuit. Inside the force field, Robert helped Maya towards her ship. The alien vessel hummed in response to her presence, a ramp extending from its sleek surface. However, as they approached the entrance, Maya's legs gave out. She collapsed in Robert's arms, her skin cycling through a kaleidoscope of blue hues. "Maya!" Robert cried out, lowering her gently to the ground. He looked helplessly at the ship's alien controls, realizing he had no idea how to operate the advanced technology. Outside the force field, General Blackwood raised a megaphone to his lips. "Robertson, listen carefully. We've been monitoring the Iconians for years. We can help stabilize her condition, but you need to trust us." A familiar voice joined the generals. "Robert, it's Dr. Morgan. Maya's physiology is adapting to our atmosphere. We need to act fast to prevent permanent damage." Robert's mind reeled as he looked from Maya's weakening form to the ship preparing for departure. The energy field around them intensified, making it difficult to hear the voices outside. He knew his next decision would affect not only their fate, but potentially the future of human-Iconian relations. As he deliberated, a commotion erupted beyond the force field. A group of civilian protesters breached the military perimeter, rushing towards them with signs and chants. Their presence added another layer of complexity to the already volatile situation. The energy pulses from Maya's body grew stronger, interfering with nearby equipment. The New York City skyline flickered in the distance, a stark reminder of the far-reaching consequences of this encounter. Robert looked down at Maya, her purple eyes meeting his with a mix of trust and uncertainty. He glanced at the ship, its systems powering up for immediate departure, then back to General Blackwood and Dr. Morgan, who waited tensely for his decision. The force field crackled with energy, the noise of the outside world becoming more muffled by the second. Robert knew he had to act fast, but the weight of his choice pressed down on him like a physical force. Whatever he decided would change the course of history, for himself, for Maya, and for both their species. With a deep breath, Robert prepared to make his move, knowing that his next actions would determine the outcome of this unprecedented encounter between humanity and the Iconians. Robert's mind raced as he looked from Maya's weakening form to the ship, then back to General Blackwood and Dr. Morgan. The force field crackled around them, the noise from outside growing fainter with each passing second. He knew his decision would alter the course of history for both species. Taking a deep breath, Robert made his choice. He raised his hand, signaling his agreement to cooperate. In an instant, the shimmering barrier surrounding them dissipated, allowing the military and medical teams to approach. Dr. Morgan sprinted forward, leading a team of scientists carrying specialized equipment. As they reached Maya, Robert gently lowered her to the ground, her skin pulsing with an otherworldly glow. "We need to stabilize her immediately," Dr. Morgan said, her voice calm but urgent as she began attaching sensors to Maya's body. While the medical team worked, Robert turned to General Blackwood, who had strode over with purposeful steps. "Sir, I can explain everything," Robert began, his words tumbling out in a rush. He recounted his encounter with Maya, the Iconian ambassador, and the potential consequences for Earth-Iconian relations. The general's expression remained stoic, but his eyes betrayed a mix of concern and fascination. "I understand, Robertson. We've been monitoring the situation closely." He turned to address his troops. "Secure the perimeter and manage that crowd. No one gets through without my express permission." As the soldiers moved to carry out their orders, Robert's attention was drawn back to Maya's ship. The low hum that had been steadily increasing suddenly began to fade, the pulsing lights along its surface dimming. The emergency departure sequence had halted, buying them precious time. Dr. Morgan called out, "We've created a temporary stabilizing field. It should help regulate her energy emissions and slow down the physiological changes." Robert watched as a faint, shimmering bubble enveloped Maya's form. Gradually, Maya's erratic breathing steadied, and her eyelids fluttered open. Her gaze focused on Robert, a look of recognition and relief washing over her features. She raised a hand weakly, gesturing towards herself and then to Robert. Dr. Morgan leaned in, her scientific curiosity piqued. "I think she's trying to communicate something about the changes in her body." Maya nodded, her fingers tracing patterns in the air. Robert's eyes widened as understanding dawned. "The mating process," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's not just affecting her. It's integrating human DNA into her genetic structure." General Blackwood's eyebrows shot up. "Are you saying this could be the solution to the Iconian genetic crisis?" Before Robert could respond, Maya's ship emitted a powerful pulse of energy. The air around them seemed to ripple, and nearby electronic devices crackled with static. "It's transmitting data," Dr. Morgan exclaimed, her eyes fixed on a handheld scanner. "The signal. It's reaching far beyond Earth." General Blackwood immediately snapped into action, pulling out a secure communications device. "This is General Blackwood. I need a direct line to the Joint Chiefs and the President. We have a situation that requires immediate attention." As the general spoke rapidly into his device, Robert knelt beside Maya, taking her hand in his. Her skin felt different, smoother, with a texture that seemed to be a blend of her original Iconian dermis and human skin. "Robertson," General Blackwood called, covering the mouthpiece of his communicator. "We're setting up a specialized facility to continue studying this. Development, your knowledge of the Iconians makes you invaluable. Are you willing to stay with her throughout this process?" Robert nodded without hesitation. "Of course. Sir, I feel responsible for Maya's well-being and for ensuring the situation grits peacefully." As preparations were made to transport Maya, the night sky above Central Park erupted with a dazzling display of lights. Gasps and exclamations rose from the crowd of onlookers as multiple UFOs appeared, hovering silently above the city. General Blackwood's face hardened. "It seems we've attracted some uninvited guests. Dr. Morgan, how soon can we move the ambassador?" "We've stabilized her for transport," Dr. Morgan replied, already directing her team to prepare Maya for the journey. Robert helped guide Maya onto a stretcher, noticing subtle changes in her appearance. Her blue skin had taken on a more human-like texture, and flecks of brown now swirled within her purple irises. As they carefully loaded Maya into a waiting transport vehicle, Robert caught sight of a group of civilians pushing past the military cordon, brandishing signs with messages of both welcome and warning for the alien visitors. General Blackwood approached Robert as the last of the equipment was loaded. "Robertson, I need you to stick close to the ambassador. We're headed to a secure facility upstate. Whatever's happening between you two might be the key to navigating this new frontier." Robert nodded, climbing into the transport beside Maya. As the convoy of vehicles began to move, escorted by a phalanx of military vehicles, he couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at the rapidly unfolding events. Maya's eyes met his, a mixture of trust and uncertainty in her gaze. She reached out, her fingers intertwining with his. In that moment, Robert realized that their chance encounter in Central Park had set in motion a chain of events that would reshape the future of both their species. As the convoy wound its way out of the city, reports began flooding in over the radio. Strange phenomena were occurring worldwide. Unexplained lights in the sky, temporary disruptions in electronic communications, and sightings of unidentified creatures in remote areas. Robert squeezed Maya's hand gently, his legs shaking from the implications of it all. Their journey was just getting started. In fact, it was clear that this was just the beginning of a much larger story, one that would challenge humanity's place in the universe and redefine the boundaries of what was possible. Possible. The future of human-Iconian relations hung in the balance, and Robert knew he was at the center of it all. As the convoy wound its way through the darkened streets, Robert felt a sudden jolt. The vehicle's engine sputtered and died, causing the driver to frantically maneuver to the side of the road. Around them, Other vehicles in the convoy experienced similar issues, their headlights flickering before going dark. "What's happening?" Robert called out, his grip on Maya's hand tightening instinctively. Dr. Morgan, who had been monitoring Maya's vital signs, looked up from her equipment with wide eyes. "It's Maya. Her energy emissions are spiking off the charts." Robert turned to Maya, noticing her skin pulsing with an intense blue glow. Her eyes were shut tight, face contorted in what seemed like pain or concentration. The air around them crackled with an otherworldly energy. "We need to stabilize her now," Dr. Morgan said urgently, her fingers flying over the controls of the portable containment field. "Robert, keep talking to her. Your presence seems to have a calming effect." As Dr. Morgan worked to adjust the field, Robert leaned in close to Maya, speaking softly. "Maya, it's okay. You're safe. We're here to help you." Maya's eyes fluttered open, meeting Robert's gaze. He noticed flecks of brown swirling within her purple irises, a visual representation of the genetic changes occurring within her. Gradually, the energy emissions subsided, and the vehicles around them sputtered back to life. General Blackwood's voice crackled over the radio. "Status report." "What just happened?" Dr. Morgan responded, her voice tense but controlled. "Sir, the ambassador's condition is evolving more rapidly than we anticipated. We need to get her to the containment chamber as soon as possible." The convoy resumed its journey, now moving with increased urgency. As they approached the hidden facility nestled within a remote mountain range, Robert couldn't help but marvel at the scale of the operation. The entrance, disguised as part of the mountain face, slid open to reveal a high-tech complex buzzing with activity. The moment they came to a stop, a team of scientists and medical personnel swarmed the vehicle. Maya was quickly but carefully transferred to a hovering stretcher, the containment field shimmering around her. "I'm staying with her," Robert insisted, his tone leaving no room for argument. General Blackwood nodded, agreed. "Your presence seems to be a stabilizing factor. Dr. Morgan, take them to the specialized chamber." Her once iridescent blue skin now shimmered with patches of human flesh tones, creating a mesmerizing mosaic. Her flowing silver hair was streaked with earthly browns and reds. They entered a vast circular room dominated by a transparent chamber at its center. Maya was transferred inside, the advanced systems immediately beginning to monitor and regulate her condition. Robert stood just outside, his hand pressed against the glass-like material separating them. Dr. Morgan worked furiously at a nearby console, her brow furrowed in concentration. "The genetic integration is proceeding at an unprecedented rate," she murmured, more to herself than anyone else. "It's not just affecting her. Robert, we need to run some tests on you as well." Before Robert could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. General Blackwood's voice came over the intercom, tension evident in his tone. "All personnel be advised. We're receiving reports of increased UFO activity worldwide. Multiple unidentified objects have entered Earth's atmosphere." Robert's heart raced as he looked back at Maya. Her eyes were open now, filled with a mixture of wonder and concern. She raised her hand, mirroring his pose on the other side of the chamber wall. As their palms aligned, Robert felt a tingling sensation course through his body. Dr. Morgan gasped, her eyes fixed on her monitor. "Robert, your cellular structure. It's changing. The Iconian DNA isn't just integrating with Maya's system. It's affecting you too." The implications of this revelation hung heavy in the air. As the facility around them erupted into a flurry of activity, Robert realized that his chance encounter with Maya in Central Park had set in motion events that would reshape not just their lives, but the future of both their species and perhaps the entire galaxy. Maya's lips moved, forming words that Robert couldn't hear through the chamber. But somehow he understood. Their connection was growing stronger, transcending physical barriers. Whatever challenges lay ahead, They would face them together, two beings from different worlds, now irrevocably linked in ways they were only beginning to understand. Their connection was growing stronger, transcending physical barriers. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, two beings from different worlds, now irrevocably linked in ways they were only beginning to comprehend. As the days passed, the facility buzzed with constant activity. Dr. Morgan and her team worked tirelessly, monitoring Maya's condition and running a battery of tests on Robert. It wasn't long before they noticed something extraordinary happening to him. "Robert, we need to run another series of scans," Dr. Morgan said, her eyes fixed on a holographic display of his cellular structure. "The Iconian DNA in your system. It's not just present, it's replicating and evolving at an unprecedented rate." Robert felt a tingling sensation course through his body as he lay on the examination table. He watched in amazement as the skin began to take on a faint iridescent sheen, reminiscent of Maya's original form. When he caught his reflection in a nearby monitor, he noticed his eyes had developed a subtle purple tint. "How is this possible?" Robert asked, flexing his fingers and marveling at the newfound strength he felt coursing through his muscles. Dr. Morgan shook her head, her expression a mix of fascination and concern. "We're not entirely sure, but it seems your encounter with Maya has triggered a cascade of genetic changes. Your body is adapting, integrating Iconian traits at a cellular level." General Blackwood entered the lab, his face grave. "Dr. Morgan, I need a full report on Robertson's condition. We need to understand the extent of these changes." Over the next few hours, Robert underwent a series of rigorous physical tests. He found himself able to lift weights that would have been impossible before, run at speeds that left the facility's top athletes in the dust, and react to stimuli within human reflexes. During one particularly intense test of his agility, Robert felt a sudden surge of energy. The world around him seemed to slow down, and in that moment, he experienced a rush of information flooding his mind. Images, sounds, and sensations overwhelmed him, glimpses of a world he had never seen, yet somehow recognized. "Maya," he gasped, stumbling as the connection broke. Dr. Morgan rushed to his side. "What happened?" Robert blinked, trying to process the flood of information. I saw through Maya's eyes. I felt her thoughts, her memories. The Iconians, they've been watching us, guiding us for centuries. This moment, this meeting of our species, they've been preparing for it all along." General Blackwood's eyes widened. "Are you saying this is all part of some long-term plan?" Before Robert could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Dr. Morgan rushed to a nearby console, her fingers flying over the holographic interface. "It's Maya. Her energy readings are off the charts. The containment field is barely holding." Robert sprinted towards Maya's chamber, his enhanced speed carrying him through the corridors in seconds. He arrived to find Maya surrounded by a pulsating aura of energy, her form now a perfect blend of human and Iconian features. The chamber's walls flickered and strained against the surges of power emanating from her. As Robert pressed his hand against the chamber's surface, he felt the familiar tingle of connection. Maya's eyes met his, and in that moment, a torrent of information passed between them. Robert saw visions of Earth's past, Iconian observers subtly guiding human development, preparing for this moment of convergence. The facility shook with another surge of energy from Maya's chamber. Alarms blared as systems struggled to contain the power. In the command center, General Blackwood received an urgent communication. "Sir, we're picking up multiple bogies approaching fast," a technician reported. "Stealth tech, unlike anything we've seen before." General Blackwood's face hardened. "Scramble our defense squadrons. I want eyes on those aircraft now." As chaos erupted throughout the facility, Robert sensed a new presence. A group of military personnel led by a stern-faced man in a general's uniform strode purposefully through the corridors. "I'm General Maxwell Stern," the man announced, his voice carrying an edge of authority. "By order of the Joint Chiefs, I'm assuming control of this facility and its assets." General Blackwood stepped forward, his eyes hardened. "On what grounds, Stern?" "This is my command." Stern's eyes narrowed. "On the grounds that you've allowed an alien presence to compromise the security of this facility and potentially the entire planet. We have reason to believe this Iconian ambassador and her human accomplice pose a significant threat to national security." Robert's enhanced hearing picked up the conversation from Maya's chamber. He looked at her, seeing the fear and drive in her eyes. Whatever was coming, they would face it together. As the two generals squared off in a battle of wills and words, Robert felt a familiar tingle at the base of his skull. Something was coming, something that could change everything. He placed his hand against the chamber wall, silently promising Maya that he would protect her, no matter the consequences. Outside the facility, the unmarked aircraft drew closer, their holds filled with untested weapons designed to neutralize the alien threat. Inside, the tensions between the two factions of military leadership threatened to boil over into open conflict. And at the center of it all, Robert and Maya stood as living proof of what humanity and Iconians could become together, a bridge between two worlds, and a harbinger of changes that would reshape the future of both species. The fate of Earth's place in the galactic community hung in the balance, with Robert and Maya at the eye of the storm. As alarms blared and orders were shouted, Robert steeled himself for what was to come, knowing that the next few moments would determine the course of history for both humans and Iconians alike. As alarms blared and orders echoed through the facility, Robert's world narrowed to a single focus: Maya. His newly enhanced physiology surged with power, and he sprinted towards her containment chamber with superhuman speed. The corridors blurred around him as he effortlessly navigated the complex, security doors and checkpoints offering no resistance to his newfound abilities. Upon reaching the chamber, Robert found Dr. Morgan hunched over a console, her fingers flying across the holographic interface. She looked up as he entered, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and excitement. "Robert, thank God you're here," she said, gesturing frantically at the readouts. "Maya's condition is critical. The hybridization process is accelerating beyond our ability to control it." Robert's gaze locked onto Maya, her form pulsating with energy inside the containment field. The chamber's walls flickered and strained against the surges of power emanating from her body. "There's more," Dr. Morgan continued, her voice urgent. "Our latest analysis shows that this isn't just a simple genetic merger. The hybridization is creating a symbiotic bond between our species. It's strengthening both humans and Iconians in ways we never imagined possible." Robert absorbed this information, his mind racing with the implications. Before he could respond, a violent surge of energy from Maya's chamber rocked the room. Sparks flew from nearby consoles as the containment field fluctuated dangerously. Acting on pure instinct, Robert reached out and touched the energy barrier. To his astonishment, his hand passed through without resistance. The energy coursed through him, intense but not painful. "Robert, what are you doing?" Dr. Morgan cried out, but her voice seemed distant. Without hesitation, Robert stepped fully into the chamber. As he approached Maya, their bodies began to resonate with a shared frequency. The air around them crackled with bioluminescent energy. The moment their hands touched, a blinding flash erupted. The facility's power grid overloaded, plunging everything into darkness. In the pitch black of the chamber, Robert and Maya's bodies glowed with an otherworldly light. Their forms seemed to merge and separate repeatedly, exchanging genetic material and energy in a dazzling display. Dr. Morgan shielded her eyes, barely able to comprehend the scene unfolding before her. "Incredible," she whispered. "The hybridization process. It's stabilizing." As the emergency generators kicked in and dim lighting returned to the facility, Robert and Maya emerged from the chamber hand in hand. Their appearances had transformed, now a perfect blend of human and Iconian features. Their skin shimmered with a subtle iridescence, and their eyes glowed with an inner light that spoke of shared knowledge and power. Robert turned to Dr. Morgan, his voice carrying a new resonance. "We understand now. The bond between us, between our species. It's more than we ever imagined." Maya nodded, her thoughts flowing seamlessly into Robert's mind. "We must act quickly. There are threats approaching, both from within and without." As if on cue, the facility shook with the sound of distant explosions. General Blackwood's voice crackled over the intercom, strained and urgent. "All personnel, brace for impact. Unidentified aircraft are attempting to breach our defenses." Robert and Maya shared a look of understanding. Without a word, they moved in perfect synchronization towards the hangar where Maya's ship was stored. Their enhanced speed allowed them to traverse the complex in seconds, bypassing panicked staff and malfunctioning security systems. Upon reaching the hangar, Robert approached the sleek Iconian vessel. He placed his hand on its hull, and to his amazement, the ship responded immediately to his touch. Panels slid open, and systems hummed to life. "I can control it," Robert said, wonder in his voice. "I can feel its systems, its capabilities." Maya nodded, her mind already formulating a plan. "We need to neutralize the incoming threat without causing harm. And we must communicate with both sides, the approaching aircraft and my people in orbit." As they worked in tandem, Robert interfacing with the ship's advanced defensive systems and Maya composing a diplomatic broadcast, chaos continued to unfold throughout the facility. They could sense the growing tension between General Blackwood's forces and the newly arrived faction led by General Stern. "We're ready," Robert announced, as the ship's energy field generator powered up. Maya's voice resonated with a blend of human empathy and Iconian logic as she began her broadcast. "To all approaching this facility, and to my Iconian brethren in orbit, we stand at a crossroads of history. The process unfolding here is not a threat, but an opportunity for both our species." As her words echoed across communication channels, Robert activated the ship's defenses. A shimmering energy field expanded outward, enveloping the entire facility. Within its radius, all weapon systems, both human and Iconian, fell silent. The effect was immediate. The incoming aircraft broke formation, their pilots clearly unsure how to proceed in the face of this unexpected development. In orbit, the Iconian fleet decloaked, revealing their presence to Earth's monitoring systems for the first time. With the immediate danger neutralized, Robert and Maya turned their attention to the internal conflict raging within the facility. They could sense the clash of ideologies, General Stern's aggressive stance versus General Blackwood's push for cooperation and understanding. As they made their way back to the Central Command area, Robert and Maya knew that their next actions would be crucial. They represented a new chapter in the story of both species, living proof of successful integration and cooperation. The facility's personnel fell silent as Robert and Maya entered the command center, their hybrid forms commanding attention and awe. General Blackwood looked at them with a mixture of relief and uncertainty, while General Stern's face twisted with terrifying fury. Robert stepped forward, his voice carrying the weight of his newfound knowledge and power. "Gentlemen, we stand at a turning point in human history. The choices we make here today will shape the future of both our species and our place in the galaxy." Maya's thoughts flowed seamlessly into his mind, and he continued with renewed purpose. "We are not here to threaten or to conquer. We are here to offer a new path forward, one of cooperation, mutual growth, and shared destiny." As they prepared to address the assembled leaders and, by extension, the world, Robert and Maya knew that their journey was just getting started. The true challenge lay ahead. guiding humanity and the Iconians into a new era of interstellar cooperation and accelerated evolution. As Robert and Maya stood before the assembled leaders, ready to address the gravity of the situation, a sudden tremor shook the facility. The lights flickered and a low hum filled the air, growing in intensity with each passing second. Dr. Morgan rushed into the room, her face pale with a mixture of awe and concern. The energy field. It's expanding beyond the facility. All eyes turned to the large monitors, lining the walls of the command center. Satellite imagery showed a shimmering dome of energy spreading outward from the complex, encompassing the surrounding landscape at an alarming rate. General Blackwood's voice cut through the stunned silence. What in God's name is happening? Before Robert or Maya could respond, reports began flooding in from the perimeter teams. The forest surrounding the facility was undergoing a startling transformation. Trees grew to impossible heights within minutes, their branches intertwining to form a dense canopy that blocked out the sky. Small animals darted between the massive trunks, their movements unnaturally quick and coordinated. "Sir," a young technician called out, her voice trembling, "we're picking up similar reports from around the globe. Pockets of accelerated growth and mutations are appearing randomly in various locations." The command center erupted into chaos as military personnel and scientists alike struggled to process the implications of this development. General Stern's face contorted with rage as he turned to face Robert and Maya. "This is your doing," he snarled, reaching for his sidearm. "I knew you were a threat to national security." Robert stepped forward, his hybrid form radiating an aura of calm authority. "General Stern, I understand your fear, but this is not an attack. It's an opportunity we don't yet fully comprehend." Maya's thoughts merged seamlessly with Robert's as she addressed the room. The hybridization process has triggered a cascade effect we didn't anticipate, but we can work together to understand and control it. As if to underscore their words, several staff members in the room suddenly gasped, their eyes widening in surprise. A young analyst stood up, his movements fluid and precise. I can see the data streams. In my mind, how is this possible?" Dr. Morgan quickly scanned the room with a handheld device, her expression a mix of excitement and disbelief. "It's affecting non-hybrid humans within the field. Enhanced cognitive functions, improve physical capabilities, even minor telepathic abilities in some cases." General Blackwood, ever the pragmatist, quickly grasped the potential ramifications. "We need to contain this now, before it spreads any further." He turned to his communications officer. "Initiate Protocol Omega. I want our top minds on this immediately." Within minutes, a team led by Dr. Evelyn Reeves, a brilliant physicist recently assigned to the facility, was assembled in the main laboratory. Robert and Maya joined them, their hybrid abilities proving invaluable as they worked to unravel the mysteries of the expanding energy field. Dr. Reeves, her fingers flying over holographic displays, looked up at Robert and Maya with a mix of scientific curiosity and urgency. "The energy signature is unlike anything we've ever encountered. It's as if it's rewriting the laws of physics on a localized scale." Maya nodded, her Iconian knowledge melding with her newfound human perspective. "It's a manifestation of the symbiotic bond between our species, a new form of matter-energy interaction." As they worked tirelessly to develop a method of containment, reports continued to pour in from around the world. The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session, debating the potential threats and benefits of the spreading hybrid influence. In orbit, the Iconian fleet maintained its vigilant watch, their advanced sensors tracking the rapidly evolving situation on Earth. The High Command, alarmed by the unexpected turn of events, began preparations for a more direct intervention if necessary. Back at the facility, General Stern paced like a caged animal, his eyes darting suspiciously between the hybrid pair and the increasingly enhanced staff members. In hushed tones, he spoke into a secure communicator, coordinating with like-minded military leaders around the globe. As the hours ticked by, Dr. Morgan made a breakthrough in her analysis of the hybrid energy. "It's not just changing our physical world," she explained, her eyes alight with the implications of her discovery. "It's altering the fundamental way we interact with the universe itself." Robert and Maya exchanged a look of understanding. They realized that their transformation had set in motion events far beyond their initial comprehension. The fate of both humanity and the Iconians now hung in the balance, with the potential for either unprecedented advancement or catastrophic conflict. Dr. Reeves approached them, her face etched with commitment. "We've developed a theoretical model for containing the energy field, but we'll need your help to implement it." She gestured to a complex array of equipment hastily assembled in the center of the lab. "Your hybrid abilities are the key to making this work." As Robert and Maya prepared to assist Dr. Reeves, alarms blared throughout the facility. General Blackwood's voice came over the intercom, tight with tension. Multiple bogies approaching from all vectors. "It seems General Stern's faction has made its move." The hybrid pair shared a moment of silent communication, their enhanced senses already detecting the incoming threat. They knew that the next few moments would be crucial, not just for the facility, but for the future of human-Iconian relations and the very course of Earth's destiny. Evolution. As Robert and Maya stood before the assembled leaders, ready to address the gravity of the situation, a sudden tremor shook the facility. The lights flickered and a low hum filled the air, growing in intensity with each passing second. Dr. Morgan burst into the room, her face pale with shock. "The hybrid energy field, it's expanding at an unprecedented rate." All eyes turned to the monitors lining the walls. Satellite imagery showed a shimmering dome of energy radiating outward from the complex, engulfing the surrounding landscape with alarming speed. "My God," General Blackwood breathed, watching as the forest surrounding the facility underwent a startling transformation. Trees grew to impossible heights within minutes, their branches intertwining to form a dense, alien canopy. Before anyone could react, the hybrid energy swept through the command center. Staff members gasped and stumbled as latent abilities awakened within them. A young analyst cried out, her eyes wide with wonder as holographic data streams materialized around her fingertips. Robert and Maya exchanged a look of concern. Their connection intensified, allowing them to sense the chaotic awakening of abilities throughout the facility. "We need to stabilize the energy field," Maya said, her thoughts merging seamlessly with Robert's. "If it continues to expand at this rate, the consequences could be catastrophic." As they rushed towards the main laboratory, reports flooded in from around the globe. The hybrid energy had triggered similar transformations worldwide, creating pockets of accelerated evolution and mutation. Dr. Reeves met them at the lab entrance, her movements unnaturally fluid and precise, a clear sign of her newly enhanced capabilities. "We've developed a theoretical model for containing the energy field," she explained, leading them to a hastily assembled array of equipment. General Blackwood's voice crackled over the intercom, tight with tension. Multiple bogies approaching from all vectors. "General Stern's faction has made its move." Outside, the first wave of military forces arrived at the perimeter of what was now being called the hybrid zone. Soldiers equipped with experimental anti-alien technology cautiously entered the transformed landscape, encountering bizarre and often dangerous hybrid creatures. In orbit, the Iconian fleet detected the military buildup on Earth. Interpreting it as a potential threat, they initiated a planetary defense protocol. Hundreds of smaller Iconian vessels descended into the atmosphere, positioning themselves around major cities and military installations worldwide. Within the facility, chaos reigned as personnel struggled to control their newfound abilities. Dr. Morgan worked feverishly to modify the containment equipment, her own enhanced intellect allowing her to make breakthroughs at an astonishing pace. "We need to create a resonance field tuned to your hybrid frequency," she explained to Robert and Maya. "It should allow you to channel and regulate the energy spread." Robert nodded, stepping into a circular platform at the center of the array. "Let's do this." As Maya joined him, they felt the hybrid energy surge through their bodies. The sensation was overwhelming, like trying to contain a raging river with their bare hands. Dr. Reeves initiated the sequence, and the equipment hummed to life. Energy arced between Robert and Maya, creating a visible network of pulsing light that expanded outward. The strain was immediate and intense. Robert gritted his teeth, his muscles trembling with effort. Maya's form seemed to flicker and blur as she channeled the vast energies. Slowly, painstakingly, they began to exert control over the hybrid field. The rapid expansion of the hybrid zone decelerated, and the chaotic manifestations of abilities among the facility's personnel started to stabilize. But their success was short-lived. As Robert and Maya pushed themselves to their limits, a new complication arose. The Iconian High Command, detecting the attempt to contain the hybrid energy, interpreted it as a potential threat to their interests on Earth. A sleek Iconian vessel broke through the cloud cover, descending rapidly towards the facility. Its hull shimmered with an otherworldly energy, clearly designed to penetrate the hybrid field. Inside the ship, a team of Iconian scientists and diplomats prepared to intervene. Their mission: to ensure the hybridization process continued according to their long-term plans for human Iconian integration. As the Iconian ship touched down outside the facility, Robert and Maya redoubled their efforts to stabilize the energy field. They were now at the center of a convergence of multiple factions: human military forces, awakened hybrid personnel, and the newly arrived Iconians. The fate of human-Iconian relations, and potentially the course of Earth's evolution, hung in the balance. Robert and Maya knew that their actions in the coming moments would be crucial. With the world teetering on the brink of interspecies conflict, they prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Their hybrid abilities their greatest asset, and perhaps their greatest liability. Burdened as they channeled the immense energies of the hybrid zone, Robert and Maya's bodies began to react in an unexpected way. Their hybrid physiologies, pushed to their limits, started to synchronize on a deeper level. A subtle change permeated the air around them, unnoticed at first amidst the chaos of the facility. Dr. Morgan, ever observant, was the first to detect it. Her enhanced senses picked up on a new scent, something primal and alluring that seemed to emanate from the hybrid pair. "Something's happening," she called out, her voice strained as she fought against a sudden, inexplicable urge. "There's a new variable we didn't account for." Before anyone could respond, the effect hit like a tidal wave. The pheromone-like substance produced by Robert and Maya's synchronized bodies spread rapidly through the facility's ventilation system. Within moments, its effects became apparent. Dr. Reeves stumbled, her eyes widening as she felt a surge of heat course through her body. She looked at her colleague, a young physicist named Dr. Chun, and felt an overwhelming attraction she'd never experienced before. "What's happening to us?" Dr. Chun asked, his breath coming in short gasps as he moved closer to Dr. Reeves. Throughout the facility, similar scenes played out. Staff members found themselves drawn to one another, inhibitions crumbling in the face of an irresistible biological imperative. Even the newly arrived Iconians were not immune, their alien physiology responding to the pheromone in unexpected ways. General Blackwood, struggling to maintain his composure, barked orders into his comm unit. "Initiate emergency protocols. Get all non-essential personnel out of here now." But his efforts were hampered by the growing chaos. In the corridors, security personnel abandoned their posts, drawn into intimate encounters with both humans and Iconians. The lines between species blurred as the pheromone overrode cultural and biological barriers. Dr. Morgan, recognizing the danger of the situation, acted quickly. "We need to isolate ourselves. she shouted to Dr. Reeves and a handful of key personnel. "Follow me to the sealed lab. We have to find a way to neutralize this, whatever it is." As they rushed to the lab, they passed scenes of mounting disorder. In one room, a human scientist and an Iconian diplomat were locked in a passionate embrace, their differences forgotten in the heat of the moment. In another, a group of security officers had formed an impromptu orgy, their weapons and uniforms discarded. Once inside the sealed lab, Dr. Morgan activated the air filtration system, hoping to clear their minds of the pheromone's influence. "We need to analyze this substance," she said, her voice shaky as she fought against her own urges. "It could be the key to understanding the hybridization process." Outside the facility, the effects spread into the hybrid zone. The mutated creatures in the forest began displaying increased mating behaviors, adding to the cacophony of sounds emanating from the transformed landscape. General Stern, positioned at the perimeter with his assault force, watched in disbelief as his carefully laid plans crumbled. His soldiers, overcome by the pheromone cloud that had expanded beyond the hybrid zone, began to pair off or wander into the forest in search of hybrid partners. "This is madness," Stern growled, fighting against his own body's response to the pheromone. "We need to contain this before it spreads further." But his words fell on deaf ears as the last remnants of military discipline dissolved around him. In orbit, the Iconian fleet detected the pheromone cloud and its effects. The High Command, alarmed by this unforeseen development, quickly dispatched a team of specialized Iconian biologists to the surface. Their ship, designed to penetrate the hybrid zone's energy field, descended rapidly towards the facility. At the heart of the chaos, Robert and Maya struggled to maintain their focus on containing the hybrid zone's energy. The pheromone they were producing intensified the already powerful connection between them, threatening to overwhelm their concentration. "We have to stay focused," Robert said through gritted teeth, his body trembling with the effort of restraint. "If we lose control now, who knows what could happen?" Maya nodded, her form shimmering as she channeled the vast energies. "I know, but it's getting harder to resist. This attraction, it's like nothing I've ever felt before." As they fought to maintain control, Dr. Reeves made a breakthrough in the sealed lab. Analyzing the pheromone's composition, she turned to Dr. Morgan with excitement in her eyes. "This isn't just a side effect," she explained, pointing to a complex molecular structure on her screen. "The pheromone seems to be facilitating the integration of human and Iconian genetic material. It's accelerating the hybridization process on a cellular level." Dr. Morgan's eyes widened as she grasped the implications. "So this could be crucial for the long-term success of human Iconian integration?" Before Dr. Reeves could respond, a new commotion outside the lab caught their attention. Through the reinforced windows, they saw a figure being escorted through the chaos of the facility. Even from a distance, there was something commanding about his presence. "Who is that?" Dr. Morgan asked, squinting to get a better look. Dr. Reeves gasped in recognition. "That's Dr. Alexei Volkov, the xenobiologist. What's he doing here?" As Dr. Volkov made his way through the facility, his eyes darting from one intimate scene to another, his mind raced with possibilities. Years of studying Iconian biology in secret had prepared him for this moment, though he never could have predicted the exact circumstances. Reaching the sealed lab, he pressed the comm button. "Dr. Morgan, Dr. Reeves, I believe I can be of assistance. We have precious little time before the situation escalates beyond our control." The doctors exchanged a look, weighing the risks of allowing someone new into their safe haven against the potential benefits of his expertise. With a nod from Dr. Morgan, Dr. Reeves began the decontamination sequence to allow Dr. Volkov entry. As the airlock cycled, tension mounted in the lab. They all knew that the next few hours would be critical in determining the future of human-Iconian relations. With the pheromone continuing to spread, multiple factions converging on the facility, and the very fabric of human evolution in flux. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shape the course of history. Dr. Volkov stepped into the lab, his eyes gleaming with a mixture of scientific curiosity and impossibly strong excitement. "Ladies," he said, his accent thick with urgency, "we have work to do." "Do." Dr. Volkov's eyes scanned the lab, taking in the equipment and the tense faces of his colleagues. "We need to act quickly to contain this pheromone crisis." Without wasting a moment, he strode to the nearest workstation and began inputting a series of complex formulas. His fingers flew across the keyboard with practiced precision, years of research in xenobiology manifesting in a flurry of activity. "I believe I can synthesize a temporary suppressant," he explained, his accent thickening with urgency. "It won't be a permanent solution, but it should allow us to regain control of our faculties long enough to address the larger issues at hand." Dr. Morgan and Dr. Reeves watched in amazement as Dr. Volkov worked, his enhanced intellect processing vast amounts of data in seconds. Within minutes, he had formulated a compound that showed promise in counteracting the pheromone's effects. "We'll need to test it immediately," Dr. Morgan said, her voice strained with the effort of maintaining composure. "But who?" "I'll do it," Dr. Reeves volunteered, stepping forward. "We can't risk losing you or Dr. Volkov if something goes wrong." Dr. Volkov nodded grimly and prepared a dose of the suppressant. As he administered it to Dr. Reeves, the tension in the room was palpable. For a few agonizing moments, nothing seemed to change. Then, slowly, Dr. Reeves' eyes cleared and her breathing steadied. "It's working," she said, relief evident in her voice. "I can think clearly again." With the suppressant proven effective, they quickly produced more doses and distributed them to key personnel throughout the facility. General Blackwood was among the first to receive it, his military training reasserting itself as the pheromone's influence waned. "Status report," he barked into his comm unit, his voice once again crisp and authoritative. As the fog of uncontrolled desire lifted from the minds of the facility's leadership, they turned their attention to the heart of the problem, Robert and Maya. The hybrid pair remained at the center of the energy array, their bodies still pulsing with the chaotic energies of the hybrid zone. Dr. Volkov observed them intently, his mind racing with possibilities. "Their connection is unlike anything I've ever seen," he mused aloud. "It's as if they're acting as conduits for the hybrid energy itself." A radical idea began to form in his mind. He turned to the others, his expression a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "I believe I know how we can stabilize the hybrid energy and potentially neutralize the pheromone's effects," he said. "But it's unorthodox." General Blackwood's eyes narrowed. "At this point, Doctor, I'm open to anything. What's your proposal?" Dr. Volkov took a deep breath before continuing. "We need to allow Robert and Maya to complete the mating process. Their intimate union could be the key to harmonizing the hybrid energies and bringing this crisis under control." A shocked silence fell over the room. Dr. Morgan was the first to speak. "Are you suggesting we facilitate a sexual encounter between them? Here, now?" "Precisely," Dr. Volkov confirmed. "Their bodies are already in sync on a level we barely understand. By allowing them to fully connect, we may be able to channel and stabilize the hybrid energy." General Blackwood paced the room, weighing the risks against the potential benefits. Finally, he stopped and faced the group. "Do it," he ordered, "but we need to contain and control this process as much as possible." Dr. Reeves sprang into action, her mind already formulating plans for a specialized chamber. "We can modify one of the isolation rooms," she suggested. "I can adapt some of our energy-dampening technology to create a controlled environment." As the team worked feverishly to prepare the chamber, Robert and Maya were carefully transported from the energy array. Their bodies still emanated waves of hybrid energy, causing nearby equipment to spark and malfunction. Robert, Maya. Dr. Morgan addressed them as they were led to the modified chamber. We believe we've found a way to stabilize the hybrid energy, but it requires your participation. Robert's eyes met Maya's, a silent understanding passing between them. We're ready, he said, his voice steady despite the strain evident on his face. Whatever it takes. As the door to the chamber sealed behind them, the facility held its collective breath. Monitoring equipment hummed to life, tracking every fluctuation in energy levels and vital signs. Inside the chamber, Robert and Maya stood facing each other, their bodies illuminated by the pulsing hybrid energy that surrounded them. Slowly, tentatively, they reached for one another. The moment their lips met, a surge of energy rippled through the facility. Alarms blared as systems overloaded, but Dr. Reeves worked furiously at her console to compensate. Energy levels are stabilizing, she reported, her voice tight with concentration. The pheromone cloud is beginning to dissipate. As Robert and Maya's intimate encounter deepened, the effects spread far beyond the confines of the facility. The chaotic mutations in the hybrid zone began to slow, then stop altogether. Reports flooded in from around the globe of strange, temporary enhancements in humans and animals alike. Suddenly, a massive burst of hybrid energy erupted from the chamber, temporarily overloading all systems in the facility. As the backup generators kicked in and screens flickered back to life, Dr. Morgan gasped at the readings before her. The energy pulse, she breathed. It's affecting a much larger area than we anticipated. We're getting reports of widespread but temporary enhancements in human and animal populations worldwide. General Blackwood leaned over her shoulder, his brow furrowed in concern. What about the Iconians? Any effect on their ships in orbit? Before Dr. Morgan could respond, a new phenomenon began to manifest. Reports streamed in of humans and Iconians experiencing a sudden, profound sense of empathy and understanding towards each other. The energy pulse had created an unexpected bridge between the two species, fostering a sense of unity that transcended their biological differences. As the initial chaos subsided, all eyes turned to the chamber where Robert and Maya had undergone their transformation. The door slid open, revealing two figures that were at once familiar and startlingly new. Robert and Maya emerged, their appearances now a perfect blend of human and Iconian features. They moved with a grace that seemed almost otherworldly, their eyes shimmering with newfound knowledge and power. Dr. Volkov stepped forward, his face alight with scientific wonder. Remarkable, he murmured, circling the pair. You've achieved a level of integration I never thought possible. Robert smiled, his voice carrying a new resonance as he spoke. We understand now, he said, glancing at Maya. The hybrid energy, the pheromones. It was all leading to this moment, a true union of human and Iconian. Maya nodded, her gaze sweeping across the assembled group. We can control the hybrid energy now, she explained. Stabilize it, direct it. The hybrid zone no longer poses a threat of uncontrolled expansion. As the implications of their words sank in, a palpable sense of relief spread through the facility. The immediate crisis had been averted, but it was clear that this was only the beginning of a new chapter in human-Iconian relations. Dr. Morgan, her scientific curiosity overriding her fatigue, approached the hybrid pair. We need to run a full battery of tests, she said, her mind already racing with possibilities. The data we gather could be crucial in understanding the full scope of this transformation. As the facility buzzed with renewed activity, General Blackwood received an urgent communique. His face grew grave as he listened, then turned to address the group. The energy pulse has had some unexpected consequences, he announced. Our forces surrounding the hybrid zone are reporting widespread equipment malfunctions. Weapons, vehicles, communication systems. Everything's down. Dr. Reeves frowned. A side effect of the hybrid energy burst? She wondered aloud. Possibly. General Blackwood replied. But it's created a situation we hadn't anticipated. With our military capabilities temporarily neutralized, we're looking at a forced de-escalation. The Iconian High Command is requesting immediate diplomatic talks. The room fell silent as the weight of this new development settled over them. Robert and Maya exchanged a glance, their newly enhanced abilities allowing them to sense the shift in the air. "We can help," Robert offered, stepping forward. "Our unique perspective might be valuable in navigating these discussions." General Blackwood nodded, his military training warring with the new reality before him. "I believe you're right," he conceded. "We're entering uncharted territory here. We'll need every advantage we can get." As plans were made for the upcoming diplomatic encounter, Dr. Volkov continued his analysis of the data gathered during Robert and Maya's transformation. His eyes widened as he made a startling discovery. "This is incredible," he exclaimed, drawing the attention of his colleagues. The genetic exchange between Robert and Maya. It's created a template for controlled human-Iconian hybridization. We could potentially use this to guide the integration process on a larger scale, without the risks of uncontrolled mutation. The implications of his words hung heavy in the air. They stood at the precipice of a new era, one that could reshape the very future of humanity and its place in the cosmos. As the facility prepared for the arrival of diplomats and world leaders, Robert and Maya found themselves at the center of a cosmic revolution. Their journey from chance encounter to the key to interspecies harmony had only just begun, with challenges and discoveries yet to come. The world outside the facility was changing rapidly, opinions shifting as news of the night's event spread. Fear and hostility began to give way to curiosity and cautious optimism. But amidst the growing acceptance, pockets of resistance were forming, led by those who saw the Iconian presence as a threat to Earth's autonomy. In orbit, the Iconian fleet maintained its vigil, their systems slowly recovering from the energy pulse. The High Command, presented with this unexpected turn of events, prepared to engage in the most significant diplomatic exchange in Earth's history. As dawn broke over the hybrid zone, casting new light on the transformed landscape, humanity stood on the brink of an unprecedented era. The lines between human and alien, once so sharply drawn, had begun to blur. The next steps taken by Robert, Maya, and those around them would shape the course of two civilizations and countless lives across the stars. As dawn broke over the hybrid zone, the facility hummed with renewed purpose. Dr. Morgan and Dr. Reeves, fueled by a potent mixture of caffeine and scientific curiosity, dove headfirst into their analysis of Robert and Maya's transformation. Their tireless efforts soon bore fruit. "We've done it!" Dr. Morgan exclaimed, her eyes wide with excitement as she burst into the main lab. "We've developed a safe, voluntary method for human hybridization." The news spread through the facility like wildfire, igniting a spark of hope and possibility. Dr. Volkov, who had been poring over genetic data, looked up from his workstation with a mixture of awe and professional admiration. "Remarkable," he said, examining the data on Dr. Morgan's tablet. "The implications of this are staggering." As word of the breakthrough reached the outside world, the facility quickly became the epicenter of unprecedented scientific and diplomatic activity. Volunteers from various backgrounds began arriving, each eager to participate in the first round of controlled hybridization experiments. Among them was Captain Marcus Donovan, a decorated military officer with a background in xenobiology. As he stepped out of the transport vehicle, his keen eyes took in the transformed landscape of the hybrid zone. "Captain Donovan," General Blackwood greeted him, extending a hand. "Welcome to the future." Donovan shook the general's hand firmly. "Thank you. Sir, I believe this process could be the key to bridging the gap between our forces and the Iconians. I'm ready to do my part." As the volunteers were processed and prepared for the experiments, Robert and Maya found themselves thrust into new roles as mentors and guides. They moved through the facility with an otherworldly grace, their presence both reassuring and awe-inspiring to the newcomers. "Remember," Robert addressed a group of volunteers, his voice carrying a new resonance that commanded attention. "This transformation isn't just physical. It will change the way you perceive the world around you." Maya nodded, adding, "We're here to help you through every step of the process. Trust in yourselves and in each other." The atmosphere in the facility grew tense with anticipation as preparations for the first round of hybridization procedures began. Dr. Reeves, her face etched with concentration, made final adjustments to the equipment. "All right, we're ready to begin," she announced, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. As the procedures got underway, unexpected complications arose. Some volunteers experienced more intense physical changes than anticipated, their bodies twisting and reshaping in ways that pushed the boundaries of human physiology. "Heart rate spiking," a medical technician called out, monitoring a volunteer whose skin had taken on a metallic sheen. Dr. Morgan rushed to the volunteer's side, her mind racing through possible solutions. "Robert, Maya," she called out, "we need your insight. How did you manage the initial phases of your transformation?" The hybrid pair moved swiftly to assist, their unique experiences proving invaluable as they helped stabilize the affected individuals. Their calming presence and intimate understanding of the process helped guide the volunteers through the most challenging moments of their metamorphosis. As the first successful transformations were completed, attention turned to Captain Donovan. His hybridization took an unexpected turn, his military training and psychological profile interacting with the Iconian genetic material in unforeseen ways. Donovan's eyes snapped open, now shimmering with an otherworldly light. He sat up abruptly, his movements fluid and precise. "The spatial awareness," he breathed, his gaze darting around the room. "It's incredible." Dr. Volkov leaned in, fascinated. "Captain, can you describe what you're experiencing?" "It's like I can sense every object in the room, calculate trajectories instantly," Donovan explained, his voice filled with wonder. "I can see potential threats and opportunities that I never would have noticed before." The implications of Donovan's enhanced abilities weren't lost on General Blackwood, who watched the proceedings with keen interest. The potential for improved interspecies military cooperation was clear, and he made a mental note to include this development in his next report to High Command. As news of the successful hybridization spread, the facility faced a new challenge. Thousands of people began arriving at the hybrid zone's perimeter, drawn by the promise of evolutionary advancement. General Blackwood surveyed the growing crowd from a security monitor, his brow furrowed with concern. "This is becoming a logistical nightmare," he muttered. Just then, a communications officer burst into the room. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from orbit. It's the Iconian High Command." The main screen flickered to life, revealing the ethereal features of Ambassador Zara, the leader of the newly arrived Iconian delegation. Her voice, melodious yet authoritative, filled the room. "Greetings, General Blackwood. We have been observing the remarkable progress you've made. We propose a joint effort to establish hybridization centers around the globe, allowing for wider participation while maintaining strict safety protocols." As discussions about expanding the program progressed, Robert and Maya made a startling discovery in the heart of the hybrid zone. They stood in a clearing, surrounded by vegetation that seemed to pulse with vitality. "Do you see it?" Maya asked, gesturing to a cluster of flowers that were visibly growing and evolving before their eyes. Robert nodded, his expression one of wonder and slight concern. "Our presence, our intimacy, it's affecting the environment, accelerating growth and evolution." As they shared their findings with the scientific team, the full implications of human Iconian hybridization on Earth's ecosystem began to dawn on everyone involved. The potential for both wondrous advancement and unforeseen consequences loomed large. In orbit, the Iconian fleet maintained its position, a silent reminder of the cosmic scale of recent events. On the ground, the facility continued to buzz with activity, its inhabitants working tirelessly to navigate the uncharted waters of this new era of interspecies cooperation. As night fell once again on the hybrid zone, Robert and Maya stood together, looking out over the transformed landscape. The challenges ahead were numerous, but for the first time since the Iconians' arrival, there was a palpable sense of hope for a shared future. The stage was set for further exploration of the hybrid's abilities, the expansion of the program, and the inevitable conflicts that would arise as humanity took its first steps into a larger galactic community. The dawn of a new era had truly begun, and its story was just the beginning. As dawn broke over the hybrid zone, Robert and Maya's peaceful moment was interrupted by an urgent message from Dr. Morgan. The couple exchanged a knowing glance before making their way back to the facility, their steps leaving faint, shimmering trails in the dew-covered grass. Inside the main laboratory, Dr. Morgan and Dr. Reeves huddled over a complex array of monitors, their faces illuminated by the flickering screens. As Robert and Maya entered, the air seemed to pulse with an invisible energy. "We've detected something unusual," Dr. Morgan said, her voice a mix of excitement and concern. She gestured to a graph displaying erratic spikes and dips. "The hybrid energy field surrounding you two has begun to fluctuate in ways we hadn't anticipated." Dr. Reeves chimed in, her eyes never leaving the data scrolling across her tablet. "What's more intriguing is the timing of these fluctuations. They seem to coincide with your intimate moments." Robert felt a warmth creep up his neck, while Maya's iridescent skin shimmered with a faint blush. The implications of this discovery hung heavy in the air. General Blackwood strode into the room, his presence commanding attention. "I've been briefed on the situation," he said, his tone businesslike. "Given the potential significance of this development, I'm authorizing a series of controlled experiments to study the phenomenon further." He turned to Robert and Maya, his expression softening slightly. "I understand this is a sensitive matter, but your participation could be crucial for advancing human-Iconian relations. Are you willing to assist?" The hybrid couple shared a silent conversation through their enhanced connection before nodding in agreement. "We'll do whatever we can to help," Robert said, his voice resolute. Over the next few days, a specialized chamber was constructed within the facility. Equipped with state-of-the-art sensors, it was designed to monitor the energy field during the couple's intimate interactions with unprecedented precision. As the experiments progressed, the results proved nothing short of groundbreaking. Dr. Morgan's eyes widened as she analyzed the incoming data. "This is remarkable," she breathed, gesturing for her colleagues to join her at the main console. The screens displayed a mesmerizing dance of energy patterns, pulsing and intertwining in complex formations. "Their intimate encounters are generating a unique energy signature," Dr. Morgan explained, her voice filled with awe. "It's having a stabilizing effect on the surrounding hybrid environment, harmonizing human and Iconian genetic material more effectively than any artificial process we've developed." Dr. Volkov stroked his chin thoughtfully. "The implications of this discovery are far-reaching. It suggests that regular intimate contact between human-Iconian hybrid pairs could be crucial for maintaining the long-term stability of hybrid communities." As the team discussed the findings, news arrived that the first group of volunteers, including Captain Marcus Donovan, had completed their hybridization procedures. The newly transformed individuals were adapting to their enhanced abilities with varying degrees of success. Captain Donovan stood before a group of scientists, his skin now bearing a subtle, metallic sheen. "The spatial awareness is unlike anything I've ever experienced," he reported, his eyes darting around the room with preternatural speed. "I can calculate trajectories instantly, identify potential threats and opportunities that would have been invisible to me before." As the volunteers continued to acclimate to their new forms, They began to experience energy fluctuations similar to those observed in Robert and Maya. Dr. Reeves carefully monitored a couple who had undergone the procedure together, noting the harmonizing effect their intimate moments had on the surrounding environment. Word of these developments quickly reached the Iconian delegation. Ambassador Zara requested a meeting with the research team, her otherworldly presence filling the conference room as she materialized. "Your discoveries align with ancient Iconian knowledge," she revealed, her melodious voice tinged with excitement. "Similar energy harmonization processes exist in our mating rituals, but the interaction with human genetics has amplified the effect beyond our expectations." The shared discovery fostered a deeper sense of connection between the two species, opening new avenues for collaborative research. As human and Iconian scientists worked side by side, the boundaries between their cultures began to blur. However, as news of these intimate aspects of the hybridization process spread beyond the facility, public reaction was mixed. Media outlets worldwide erupted with debates on the ethical considerations of a procedure that required such personal involvement. General Blackwood frowned as he watched the latest news reports. "This could complicate things," he muttered, turning to address Robert and Maya. "We need to get ahead of this story before it spirals out of control." The hybrid couple nodded, understanding the delicate nature of their position. As they prepared to face the public eye, they drew strength from each other, their bond a living testament to the potential of human Iconian unity. Outside the facility, a crowd had gathered. Some held signs celebrating the union of the two species, while others voiced concerns about the implications for personal privacy and cultural norms. The air crackled with tension as Robert and Maya stepped out to address the assembled media. Cameras flashed and reporters jostled for position as the couple approached the podium. Robert took a deep breath, his enhanced senses acutely aware of the myriad emotions swirling through the crowd. Maya squeezed his hand reassuringly as he began to speak. "We stand before you today not just as individuals, but as living proof of what humanity and Iconians can achieve together," Robert said, his voice carrying a newfound resonance that commanded attention. "The path we're walking is new and at times challenging, but the potential benefits for both our species are immeasurable." Maya stepped forward, her iridescent skin shimmering in the sunlight. "We understand the concerns some of you may have," she added, her gaze sweeping across the assembled crowd. "But we ask you to look beyond fear and see the beauty in this union of two worlds." As they continued to address the public, their words seemed to have a calming effect on the crowd. The tension in the air began to dissipate, replaced by a cautious sense of hope and curiosity. Meanwhile, back in the facility, Dr. Morgan and her team worked tirelessly to unravel the mysteries of the hybrid energy field. Each new discovery brought with it a host of new questions, pushing the boundaries of both human and Iconian scientific understanding. As night fell once again on the hybrid zone, Robert and Maya found themselves standing on the facility's roof, looking out over the transformed landscape. The challenges ahead were numerous, but as they stood together, their energies intertwining in a dance invisible to the naked eye, they felt a sense of purpose stronger than ever before. The world was changing rapidly around them, and they were at the heart of that change. As they gazed up at the stars, where the Iconian fleet maintained its silent vigil, they knew that their journey, and the journey of both their species, was just getting started. As dawn broke over the hybrid zone, Robert and Maya's peaceful moment was interrupted by an urgent message from Dr. Morgan. The couple exchanged a knowing glance before making their way back to the facility, their steps leaving faint, shimmering trails in the dew-covered grass. Inside the main laboratory, they found Dr. Morgan and Dr. Reeves huddled over a complex array of monitors, their faces etched with concern. The air crackled with tension as they approached. "We've hit a snag," Dr. Reeves said, gesturing to a prototype device on the workbench. "The portable energy stabilization units aren't performing as expected." Dr. Morgan nodded grimly. "We've had several malfunctions during testing. The energy surges are causing localized disruptions to our systems. As if on cue, the lights in the lab flickered, and a nearby computer terminal emitted a series of alarming beeps before shutting down completely. Until we can willpower these issues, Dr. Morgan continued, we'll need to rely on the specialized chamber for your intimate encounters. Robert and Maya exchanged worried glances. They understood the implications immediately. Their private moments would once again be subject to the scrutiny of the research team. Over the next few days, the facility buzzed with activity as scientists worked tirelessly to refine the portable devices. Meanwhile, a steady stream of newly transformed hybrids arrived, each requiring time in the chamber to stabilize their energy emissions. Captain Marcus Donovan, his skin now shimmering with a subtle metallic sheen, approached Robert and Maya in the cafeteria. I heard about the chamber situation, he said, his voice low. Some of the newer couples are feeling uncomfortable with the scheduling. Robert nodded, sensing the underlying tension. We're all in this together, Marcus. Maya and I will do whatever we can to make things easier for everyone. Despite their best efforts, the increased reliance on the chamber created a logistical nightmare. General Blackwood implemented a rotation system, but it quickly became apparent that forced scheduling led to less effective energy harmonization. During one of their assigned sessions, Robert and Maya found themselves struggling to connect. The clinical environment of the chamber, combined with the pressure of the timetable, left them feeling self-conscious and disconnected. This isn't working, Maya whispered, her iridescent skin dimming slightly. Our bond. It needs to happen naturally, not on a schedule. Robert nodded, pulling her close. We'll find a way through this. We always do. As they exited the chamber, they overheard two scientists discussing the latest data. The energy signatures are all over the place, one said, frowning at a tablet. If we can't stabilize these fluctuations soon, the entire hybrid zone could become unstable. The news sent a shiver through Robert and Maya. They realized that the success of the entire program, and potentially the future of human-Iconian relations, hinged on finding a solution to this intimate challenge. Meanwhile, Dr. Morgan made a startling discovery in the facility's greenhouse. Plants near the chamber were growing at an accelerated rate, their leaves larger and more vibrant than ever before. Look at this, she said, beckoning to Dr. Volkov. She pointed to a cluster of tomato plants, their vines heavy with ripe fruit. These were seedlings just days ago. Dr. Volkov's eyes widened as he examined the plants. The hybrid energy field. It's affecting the local ecosystem in ways we never anticipated. As word of this discovery spread, it caught the attention of environmental scientists around the world. The potential applications for ecosystem restoration and increased agricultural productivity were staggering. However, the excitement was tempered by concerns about the long-term effects of altering Earth's natural environment through alien influence. Heated debates erupted in scientific circles and public forums alike. In response to these developments, the United Nations established a new department within its environmental program, dedicated to studying and managing the ecological impact of human-Iconian hybridization. Dr. Morgan found herself appointed as the lead scientific advisor for this initiative. As she prepared to leave for her first UN briefing, Dr. Morgan pulled Robert and Maya aside. Your bond is more important than ever, she said, her voice urgent. We need to find a way to harness its power without compromising its authenticity. The couple nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility on their shoulders. As they watched Dr. Morgan depart, they knew that the challenges ahead would test not only their relationship, but the very foundations of the hybridization program itself. In the facility's command center, General Blackwood surveyed the growing list of issues on his monitor. The malfunctioning stabilization devices, the chamber's scheduling conflicts, the unexpected environmental impacts. Each problem seemed to spawn two more in its wake. He turned to Captain Donovan, who stood at attention nearby. We need solutions, Captain, and we need them fast. Donovan nodded, his enhanced senses already processing multiple scenarios. Sir, I have an idea, but it's going to require thinking outside the box, way outside. As Donovan began to outline his proposal, Robert and Maya stood on the facility's roof, looking out over the transformed landscape of the hybrid zone. The challenges ahead were daunting, but as they clasped hands, their energies intertwining in a dance invisible to the naked eye, they felt a renewed sense of purpose. The fate of two worlds rested in their hands, and they were determined to find a way forward together. The world was changing rapidly around them, and they were at the heart of that change. As they gazed up at the stars, where the Iconian fleet maintained its silent vigil, they knew that their journey, and the journey of both their species, was just getting started. In the weeks that followed, Robert and Maya found themselves thrust into a new role. General Blackwood approached them with a proposal that would change the course of the hybridization program. "We need you to lead by example," Blackwood said, his voice firm but tinged with respect. "Your bond has become a symbol of what's possible between our species. It's time to share that knowledge." Robert and Maya exchanged glances, a silent conversation passing between them. They nodded in unison, accepting the challenge. Thus, Project Harmony was born. The couple began training a select group of human Iconian pairs, sharing the intricacies of energy harmonization and the delicate balance required to maintain stability within the hybrid zone. Dr. Ileana Cortez, a human geneticist with piercing green eyes and an analytical mind, stood out among the first group of trainees. Her Iconian partner, Lyra, possessed a natural affinity for energy manipulation that complemented Ileana's scientific approach. "The key is to let go of preconceptions," Maya explained during a training session. She guided Ileana's hand to rest on Lyra's shimmering skin. "Feel the energy flow between you. Don't try to control it. Become part of it." Ileana closed her eyes, her brow furrowed in concentration. Slowly, a faint glow began to emanate from where their hands touched. Lyra's melodious voice filled the air with a soft hum, and the energy in the room shifted palpably. As Project Harmony progressed, Dr. Morgan made a startling discovery. She burst into the training facility, her eyes wide with excitement. "Robert, Maya, you need to see this," she said, gesturing for them to follow. In the laboratory, holographic displays showed a kaleidoscope of energy patterns, each unique and pulsing with life. "Each couple is producing a distinct energy signature," Dr. Morgan explained, pointing to the various readouts. "And look at this, they're affecting the environment in different ways." She led them to a series of sealed chambers. In one, plants grew at an accelerated rate, their leaves vibrant and lush. In another, a group of mice navigated a complex maze with unprecedented speed and accuracy. "The implications are staggering," Dr. Morgan continued. "We could potentially target specific environmental or cognitive enhancements." The discovery led to the development of specialized harmony chambers, designed to harness and direct these varied energy outputs. The chambers quickly became a cornerstone of the program, allowing for precise control over the environmental effects of hybrid energy. As word of these advancements spread, global attention intensified. Media outlets clamored for interviews, and political leaders debated the implications of this rapidly evolving technology. Amidst the growing excitement, Captain Marcus Donovan approached Robert and Maya with news of his own. "The first group of hybrid peacekeepers has completed training," he reported, his metallic skin gleaming under the facility's lights. "We're calling them the Hybrid Response Unit." Robert nodded approvingly. "How are they performing in the field?" "Excellently," Donovan replied. "They've already defused several potentially volatile situations arising from the integration process. Their unique abilities give them an edge in conflict resolution." As the HRU success stories began to circulate, public opinion seemed to be shifting in favor of the hybridization program. However, Not everyone welcomed these changes. During a routine briefing, General Blackwood's face appeared on the main screen, his expression grave. "We've got a situation developing," he said without preamble. "A new political movement called Pure Earth is gaining traction. They're advocating for strict limitations on hybridization." Maya frowned. "Who's behind this?" "A human politician named Senator Victor Reeves," Blackwood replied. "He's charismatic, well-funded, and playing on people's fears of change." The news cast a shadow over the facility, but it also galvanized the team's dedication. They redoubled their efforts, pushing forward with their research and training programs. Weeks later, Robert and Maya found themselves standing before a global audience at the United Nations Summit on Human-Iconian Relations. The newly constructed hybrid-friendly facility in Geneva buzzed with anticipation as they took the stage. "What we've achieved through Project Harmony is just the beginning," Robert began, his voice carrying clearly through the auditorium. Maya stepped forward, her iridescent skin shimmering under the lights. "We're here to demonstrate the true potential of human-Iconian cooperation." As they began their carefully choreographed energy harmonization demonstration, the audience watched in awe. The air around them shimmered with visible energy, and the plants decorating the stage burst into vibrant bloom. Suddenly, alarms blared through the facility. General Blackwood's voice crackled over the communication system. "Security breach. We have Pure Earth sympathizers in the building. All delegates, please remain calm and follow security protocols." Robert and Maya locked eyes, their bodies tensing for action. As chaos erupted around them, they knew that the true test of human-Iconian unity was just beginning. As chaos erupted around them, they knew that the true test of human-Iconian unity was just starting. Robert and Maya exchanged a quick glance, their hybrid instincts kicking in. They moved in perfect synchronization, creating a shimmering energy field around themselves and the nearby delegates. "Everyone stay calm," Robert called out, his voice cutting through the panic. "We'll guide you to safety." As they led the group towards the emergency exits, Captain Donovan's voice crackled over their comm units. "Pure Earth extremists have breached the lower levels. HRU teams are engaging, but we need backup." Maya nodded to Robert. "Go. I'll get these people out." Robert hesitated for a split second before sprinting towards the stairs, his enhanced physiology allowing him to move at incredible speeds. He arrived at the security control room to find Captain Donovan coordinating the response. "Situation?" Robert asked, scanning the monitors. "Multiple intruders, armed with some kind of energy disruption devices," Donovan reported. "They're trying to sabotage the building's power grid." On the screens, they watched as HRU operatives engaged the Pure Earth extremists. The hybrid peacekeepers moved with superhuman agility, their abilities clearly giving them an edge in the close-quarters combat. "We need to contain this before it escalates," Robert said, his mind racing. "Can we isolate them?" Donovan nodded, fingers flying over the control panel. "Initiating lockdown protocols now." As they worked to secure the facility, Maya's voice came through the comm system. "Robert, we have a problem. There's a massive protest outside, and it's getting ugly." Robert switched to an external camera feed. Thousands of demonstrators filled the streets, their angry chants audible even through the building's thick walls. At the forefront, a man with a megaphone rallied the crowd. "That's Senator Victor Reeves," Donovan said, his expression grim. "Leader of the Pure Earth movement." Before they could formulate a response, an urgent message flashed across the main screen. Dr. Morgan's face appeared, her expression a mix of excitement and concern. "Robert, Maya, we have a critical situation," she began without preamble. "Our latest data shows that the spread of hybrid genetic changes among non-hybrid populations has accelerated beyond our projections. We're seeing spontaneous mutations in humans and Iconians alike, even without direct participation in the program. Robert felt the weight of this revelation settle on his shoulders. What are the implications, Doctor? It's too early to say for certain, but if this trend continues, we could be looking at widespread, uncontrolled hybridization within months, not years. The news hit like a shockwave. Robert turned to Donovan, whose metallic skin seemed to pale slightly. We need to get this information to the summit leaders immediately. As they rushed back to the main conference hall, they found Maya already there, briefing a group of visibly shaken delegates. "And that's the situation as we understand it," she was saying as Robert entered. "Dr. Morgan is compiling a full report as we speak." The room erupted into a cacophony of voices, fear and anger palpable in the air. Robert stepped forward, raising his hands for silence. "I know this is alarming news," he began, his voice steady despite the turmoil in his mind. "But we've faced challenges before, and we've overcome them together. This is no different." As he spoke, the doors burst open, and Senator Reeves strode in, flanked by security guards and camera crews. His eyes locked onto Robert and Maya, a mix of disgust and triumph on his face. "You see," he bellowed, pointing accusingly at the hybrid couple. "This is exactly what Pure Earth has been warning about. Your reckless experimentation has put the entire human race at risk." The room descended into chaos once more, with delegates shouting over each other and security personnel struggling to maintain order. Amidst the confusion, Robert felt a familiar energy signature beside him. He turned to see Dr. Ileana Cortez and her Iconian partner Lyra pushing through the crowd. "Robert, Maya," Ileana said urgently, her green eyes flashing with excitement. "We've made a breakthrough. We think we've found a way to temporarily suppress the spread of hybrid genetic changes in non-hybrid populations." Lyra nodded, her melodious voice cutting through the noise. "It requires large-scale implementation of specialized energy fields, but it could buy us the time we need to develop a long-term solution." Robert and Maya exchanged a look, a silent understanding passing between them. They knew what they had to do. "Everyone, please," Maya called out, her voice amplified by a subtle manipulation of energy that caused the room to fall silent. "We have a proposal that could address this crisis." As all eyes turned to them, Robert took a deep breath. "Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates, what we're about to suggest is bold, perhaps even controversial. But in light of recent developments, we believe it's our best path forward." He paused, looking out over the sea of faces, human, Iconian, and hybrid alike. The fate of two worlds hung in the balance, and the next few minutes would determine the course of history. "We propose the creation of a global network of harmony chambers," Robert continued, his voice gaining strength. "Strategically placed to control the spread of hybrid genetic changes while allowing for continued research and voluntary hybridization." The room erupted once more, but this time with a mix of hope and skepticism. As Robert and Maya began to outline their plan in more detail, they knew that the real challenge was just beginning. The world was changing faster than anyone had anticipated, and they were at the epicenter of that change, fighting to shape a future where humans and Iconians could coexist in harmony. Harmony where humans and Iconians could coexist in peace. As Robert finished outlining their ambitious plan, a hush fell over the room. The silence was shattered by a deafening explosion. The building shook, and alarms blared as security personnel rushed to secure the area. General Blackwood's voice crackled over the intercom. "Multiple hybrid zones under attack. Pure Earth extremists have launched coordinated strikes worldwide." Chaos erupted in the conference hall. Delegates scrambled for cover as Robert and Maya exchanged a determined look. They moved swiftly, guiding people towards the exits while using their hybrid abilities to create protective energy barriers. Suddenly, the main doors burst open. Senator Victor Reeves strode in, flanked by armed supporters. His eyes blazed with a fanatical gleam as he raised a weapon. "This ends now. No more alien corruption of humanity. Robert, Maya, and Ambassador Zara reacted instantly. They dove behind a row of seats as Reeves and his followers opened fire. Energy blasts scorched the walls, leaving acrid smoke in their wake. "We need to get out of here," Maya hissed, her iridescent skin pulsing with barely suppressed energy. Ambassador Zara nodded, her antennae twitching nervously. "There's a secure bunker 3 levels down. We can regroup there." Robert surveyed the room, calculating their odds. "On my mark, we make a break for the service corridor. Ready?" The trio tensed, waiting for the right moment. As Reeves paused to reload, Robert shouted, "Now!" They sprinted across the room, Robert and Maya using their hybrid abilities to deflect incoming fire. They reached the corridor and raced down the stairs, the sounds of pursuit fading behind them. Breathless, they arrived at the bunker. Ambassador Zara pressed her hand to a biometric scanner, and the heavy doors slid open. Once inside, Robert immediately activated the communication array. General Blackwood's grim face appeared on the main screen. "Robert, Maya, thank God you're alive. The situation is critical. Pure Earth extremists have hit major hybrid zones across the globe. Captain Donovan and the HRU are engaging, but they're stretched thin." Dr. Morgan's voice cut in, her tone urgent. "That's not all. The accelerated spread of hybrid genetic changes has reached a tipping point. We're seeing spontaneous mutations in densely populated areas worldwide. If we don't act fast, the situation could spiral out of control." Robert ran a hand through his hair, his mind racing. "What options do we have?" Dr. Morgan hesitated before responding. "There is one possibility, but it's risky. Dr. Cortez and Lyra have developed an experimental procedure to amplify hybrid energy output. In theory, it could create a large-scale stabilizing field to halt the spread of uncontrolled mutations." Maya stepped forward, her eyes meeting Robert's. "We'll do it." "Maya, wait," Robert began, but she cut him off. "We don't have time to debate this, Robert. It's our best shot." He nodded, knowing she was right. "All right, let's do it. Dr. Morgan, start the preparations. We're on our way." As they prepared to leave the bunker, the facility shook violently. Alarms blared, and emergency lights bathed the room in an eerie red glow. Ambassador Zara's communicator chirped. She listened intently, her expression growing more concerned by the second. "The Iconian High Command has activated the planetary shield without Earth's full consensus. It's slowing the spread of hybrid genetic changes, but it's causing widespread disruption to global communications and power grids." Robert cursed under his breath. "That's going to make things worse. We need to move fast." They emerged from the bunker to find the facility in chaos. Security personnel rushed past, weapons drawn. In the distance, they could hear the sounds of battle. As they made their way to the medical wing, they passed view screens showing news footage from around the world. HRU teams engaged Pure Earth extremists in fierce combat, their enhanced abilities on full display. But the cost was high, buildings in ruins, civilians caught in the crossfire. They reached the medical wing to find Dr. Cortez and Lyra waiting, their faces etched with tension. "We prepared everything," Dr. Cortez said, gesturing to 2 reclined chairs surrounded by complex machinery. "But I have to warn you, this procedure is untested. The strain on your bodies will be immense." Robert and Maya exchanged a look, years of partnership allowing them to communicate without words. They took their places in the chairs, hands clasped tightly together. Dr. Cortez began the procedure, her fingers flying over the controls. Robert felt a tingling sensation spread through his body, quickly intensifying to a burning ache. Beside him, Maya gritted her teeth, her skin glowing with impossibly strong energy. The air around them began to shimmer and crackle. Alarms on the equipment blared, as energy readings spiked off the charts. Robert's vision blurred, the world dissolving into a kaleidoscope of colors and sensations. Suddenly, a surge of power erupted from their joined hands. The laboratory systems overloaded, plunging the room into darkness. Through the windows, they could see a brilliant aurora dancing across the Geneva sky. As the light faded and their senses returned, Robert and Maya sat up slowly, feeling drained yet somehow invigorated. Dr. Cortez rushed to check their vital signs, her eyes wide with amazement. "It worked," she breathed. "The uncontrolled spread of hybrid genetic changes has halted. And there's more. Reports are coming in from around the world. People are experiencing something, increased empathy, understanding. It's as if your energy surge has opened up new pathways of communication between humans and Iconians." Before they could fully process this information, General Blackwood's voice crackled over the intercom. "Robert, Maya, we need you in the conference hall immediately. The situation has changed dramatically." As they made their way back to the main summit area, they could feel the shift in the atmosphere. The tension that had permeated the building earlier had dissipated, replaced by a sense of cautious optimism. They entered the conference hall to find a scene of controlled chaos. Senator Reeves was being led away in restraints, his face a mask of confusion and defeat. World leaders huddled in small groups, engaged in intense discussions. Ambassador Zara approached them, her antenna quivering with excitement. "Your energy surge. It's done more than just stabilize the genetic changes. It's opened up new possibilities for human-Iconian integration. Dr. Morgan is analyzing the data now, but early results suggest we may have found a way to achieve hybridization without the risks we've been facing." Robert and Maya exchanged a look of cautious hope. They had averted a crisis, but they knew the real work was just beginning. As world leaders began to reconvene, preparing to discuss the future of the hybridization program, Robert felt a new sense of purpose wash over him. The path ahead would not be easy. There were still those who resisted change, and the complexities of integrating two vastly different species remained daunting. But for the first time since the Iconians had arrived on Earth, Robert felt truly optimistic about the future. As he and Maya took their seats at the conference table, ready to help shape the next phase of human-Iconian relations, Robert couldn't help but wonder what new challenges and new possibilities awaited them in this brave new world they had helped create. To create would face unprecedented challenges. Yet as Robert gazed at Maya, her iridescent skin shimmering with residual energy, he felt a surge of hope for the future they would build together. In the days following the Geneva summit, Robert and Maya found themselves thrust into the center of a rapidly evolving landscape of human-Iconian relations. As they recovered from the experimental procedure, they began to notice subtle changes in their perception of the world around them. "Maya," Robert whispered one morning, his eyes still closed. "Can you hear me?" Maya's voice echoed in his mind, clear as crystal. "Yes, Robert, I can hear your thoughts." They sat up in bed, staring at each other in amazement. It wasn't just that they could communicate telepathically with each other. They could sense the emotions and surface thoughts of those around them, human and Iconian alike. This newfound ability proved invaluable as they navigated the complex political landscape in the aftermath of the crisis. The United Nations, working in concert with the Iconian High Command, established the Interspecies Integration Council. Robert and Maya found themselves appointed as co-chairs, tasked with overseeing the controlled expansion of the hybridization program. Their first major initiative was a global tour to promote understanding and voluntary participation in the program. As they prepared to depart, Dr. Morgan approached them with excitement in her eyes. "We've made a breakthrough," she announced, pulling up holographic displays of complex genetic structures. "The energy surge you created has stabilized the hybrid genetic changes. We can now offer a safer, more controlled hybridization process." Robert nodded, absorbing the information. This changes everything. We need to get the word out. Their tour began where their journey had started, Central Park in New York City. The once familiar landscape had been transformed, a gleaming harmony chamber now standing as a symbol of human Iconian cooperation. As Robert and Maya addressed the gathered crowd, they felt a ripple of excitement and curiosity wash over them. Their enhanced empathic abilities allowed them to gauge the mood of the audience, helping them tailor their words for maximum impact. Suddenly, a commotion near the back of the crowd caught their attention. A striking Iconian female pushed her way to the front, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with vibrant colors. "I am Lyria," she announced, her melodious voice carrying across the park. "I have traveled from our homeworld to participate in this great endeavor." The crowd's reaction was immediate and intense. Robert and Maya felt a surge of conflicting emotions: curiosity, excitement, and an undercurrent of unease. As Lyria began to demonstrate traditional Iconian mating behaviors, the tension in the air thickened. Robert and Maya exchanged a glance, knowing they needed to act quickly. They made their way through the crowd, using their empathic abilities to project calm and understanding. "Friends," Maya called out, her voice amplified by a subtle manipulation of energy, "what we're witnessing is a beautiful expression of Iconian culture. Let's approach this with open minds and hearts." Robert stepped forward, addressing Lyria directly. "We welcome you to Earth, Lyria. Your courage in coming here is admirable. However, we must be mindful of the differences in our social norms." As they spoke, Robert and Maya could feel the tension in the crowd beginning to dissipate. They spent the next hour fielding questions, explaining cultural differences, and fostering a spirit of mutual understanding. The incident in Central Park highlighted the complexities they would face in merging two distinct species and cultures. In response, the IIC quickly implemented new protocols for Iconian visitors, including cultural sensitivity training and guidelines for public behavior. As their tour continued, Robert and Maya found themselves at the forefront of a global revolution. Dr. Cortez and Lyra's breakthrough in energy harmonization led to the development of Harmony batteries, capable of powering entire cities with clean, renewable energy. In Beijing, they watched as the first Harmony battery was integrated into the city's power grid. The smog-filled sky began to clear almost immediately, offering a glimpse of a cleaner, brighter future. In Rio de Janeiro, they inaugurated a new Harmony chamber, demonstrating the refined hybridization process developed by Dr. Morgan's team. Volunteers from the crowd stepped forward, eager to be part of this new chapter in human history. With each stop on their tour, Robert and Maya could feel the tide of public opinion shifting. The benefits of human Iconian integration were becoming increasingly apparent, from advancements in clean energy to breakthroughs in medical technology. Yet challenges remained. Captain Donovan kept them informed of Pure Earth's underground activities, forcing them to balance their message of hope with the need for vigilance. As they prepared for the next leg of their tour, which would take them to more remote and potentially hostile regions, Robert and Maya took a moment to reflect on how far they had come. "We've made incredible progress," Maya said, her hand intertwined with Robert's. "But I can't help feeling that our greatest challenges still lie ahead." Robert nodded, his mind already turning to the complex task of bridging divides not just between species, but between different human cultures and ideologies. "Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." As they boarded their transport, ready to continue their mission of fostering understanding and cooperation, Robert and Maya knew that their journey was a long way to go. The true test of the hybridization program's success still lay ahead, but with each step, they moved closer to their vision of a harmonious future for humans and Iconians alike. As they boarded their transport, ready to continue their mission of fostering understanding and cooperation, Robert and Maya knew that their journey was nowhere near the end. The true test of the hybridization program's success still lay ahead, but with each step, they moved closer to their vision of a harmonious future for humans and Iconians. Their next destination was Tokyo, Japan, a city that had embraced the hybridization program with characteristic enthusiasm. As their transport descended through the neon-lit skyline, Robert and Maya marveled at the sight of a newly constructed harmony chamber rising from the heart of Shibuya. The moment they stepped off the transport, they were engulfed by a wave of excitement from the waiting crowd. Their enhanced empathic abilities allowed them to feel the genuine curiosity and optimism emanating from the gathered humans and Iconians alike. However, as they made their way to the welcome ceremony, Robert's communicator buzzed urgently. Dr. Morgan's holographic image appeared, her expression tense. "Robert, Maya, we have a situation," she said, her voice low and urgent. "The stable hybrid genetic structure we've been using, it's showing signs of unexpected mutations in some individuals." Maya's brow furrowed. "What kind of mutations?" "Heightened physical attributes, enhanced sensory perception," Dr. Morgan explained. "It's not immediately dangerous, but it raises concerns about the long-term stability of the hybridization process. We need you back at the main research facility for comprehensive testing." Before Robert could respond, a commotion near the Harmony Chamber caught their attention. A group of Iconian females had arrived, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing with vibrant colors that stood out even against Tokyo's neon backdrop. "Is that Lyria?" Maya asked, recognizing the striking Iconian who had caused a stir in Central Park. Indeed it was. Lyria approached them, flanked by her companions. "Greetings, Robert and Maya," she said, her melodious voice carrying a hint of excitement. "We are the Harmony Seekers, and we've come to participate in your hybridization program." Robert and Maya exchanged a glance, sensing the mixture of excitement and apprehension rippling through the crowd. They had to act quickly to maintain control of the situation. "Lyria, we're honored by your interest," Robert said carefully. "But there are some new developments we need to discuss. Perhaps we could speak privately?" Lyria's antenna quivered with curiosity. "Of course, but first, I must ask, can you guide us in understanding human mating rituals? They seem so different from our own practices." Maya felt a surge of alarm. She remembered all too well the scene Lyria had caused in Central Park. "Lyria, that's a complex topic. Let's find a more appropriate time and place to discuss it." But it was too late. Lyria and her companions, misinterpreting the colorful, energetic atmosphere of Shibuya Crossing, began to engage in public displays of Iconian mating behaviors. Their bioluminescent patterns flashed in complex, mesmerizing patterns as they moved in sync with each other. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Phones were raised, capturing the scene. Robert knew this would go viral within minutes. "Maya, we need to contain this," he said urgently. "Contact Captain Donovan. We'll need the HRU to manage the situation." As Maya made the call, Robert approached Lyria and her companions. He projected a sense of calm and understanding through his empathic abilities. "Lyria, please, this isn't the appropriate place for such displays," he said gently but firmly. "Human culture has different norms for public behavior. Let's move this to a more private location." Lyria's antenna drooped slightly in confusion. "We meant no offense. We simply wish to share our joy and excitement for this program." As Robert worked to defuse the situation, Maya's communicator buzzed again. This time, it was Captain Donovan. "We're en route," he said, his voice tense. "But we've got another problem. Intelligence suggests pure Earth cells are planning to sabotage Harmony chambers worldwide. They're targeting the energy grid powered by Harmony batteries." Maya's mind raced. They were being pulled in multiple directions at once. The mutation concerns, the cultural misunderstanding with the Harmony Seekers, and now this new threat from pure Earth. Just then, a familiar voice cut through the chaos. "Perhaps we can be of assistance." Dr. Eliana Cortez and her Iconian partner Lyra had arrived, carrying what looked like sleek, handheld devices. We've developed prototype personal harmony devices, Dr. Cortez explained quickly. They're designed to help hybrids and potential candidates control their energy emissions and genetic stability. They might help with both the mutation concerns and the current situation. As they began to distribute the devices to Lyria and her companions, a hush fell over the crowd. A new group had arrived, Iconians in what were clearly military uniforms, led by a towering figure with intricate, pulsing patterns across his exoskeleton. "I am Admiral Jur of the Iconian High Command," he announced, his voice resonating with authority. "In light of recent events, we propose a temporary halt to the hybridization program until all safety concerns can be addressed." Robert and Maya exchanged a look of concern. They could feel the tension rising, threatening to undo all the progress they had made. As they prepared to address this new challenge, they knew that their next moves would be crucial in shaping the future of human-Iconian relations. The sun was setting over Tokyo, casting a golden glow over the Harmony Chamber. Robert and Maya stood at its base, the weight of their responsibilities heavy on their shoulders. They had a decision to make, one that would impact not just Earth, but potentially the entire galaxy. The sun was setting over Tokyo, casting a golden glow over the Harmony Chamber. Robert and Maya stood at its base, the weight of their responsibilities heavy on their shoulders. They had a decision to make, one that would impact not just Earth, but potentially the entire galaxy. As they contemplated their next move, Dr. Morgan's urgent message about genetic mutations echoed in their minds. "We need to return to the main research facility," Robert said, his voice low and serious. "If these mutations are as significant as Dr. Morgan suggests, we need to understand them fully." Maya nodded, her brow furrowed with concern. "Agreed. But what about Lyria and the other Iconians? We can't leave them here without guidance." As if on cue, Captain Donovan approached, his HRU team efficiently managing the crowd nearby. "I've got the situation under control," he assured them. "We'll escort Lyria and her group to a secure facility for proper cultural orientation. You two need to focus on the bigger picture." Relieved, Robert and Maya boarded their transport, setting course for the main research facility. The flight was tense, filled with speculation about what Dr. Morgan's tests might reveal. Upon arrival, they were immediately ushered into a specialized medical bay. The room hummed with advanced hybrid-compatible diagnostic equipment, its sleek design a testament to the rapid technological advancements brought about by human-Iconian collaboration. Dr. Morgan greeted them, her usual composure tinged with excitement and apprehension. "Thank you for coming so quickly," she said, gesturing to two examination tables. "Please lie down. We need to run a full battery of tests." As Robert and Maya complied, holographic displays sprang to life around them, showing real-time data of their physiological processes. Dr. Morgan and her team moved efficiently, their fingers dancing across control panels as they initiated various scans. Hours passed as the couple underwent a series of exhaustive examinations. Finally, Dr. Morgan approached them, her eyes wide with astonishment. "The results are remarkable," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Your genetic structure has indeed mutated further, but in ways we never anticipated." Robert sat up, his muscles tense. "What do you mean?" Dr. Morgan activated a large holographic display, showing a complex double helix structure. "Your DNA has become more stable, not less. You've developed increased physical strength, heightened sensory perception, and—" She paused, looking between Robert and Maya. "Your telepathic connection has grown even stronger." Maya gasped, suddenly aware of Robert's presence in her mind more vividly than ever before. She could sense his mixture of awe and concern, as if they were her own emotions. "Is this happening to all hybrids?" Robert asked, his mind racing with the implications. Dr. Morgan shook her head. "Not to this extent. You two seem to be unique cases, possibly due to your prolonged exposure to various harmony chambers and your frequent use of your abilities. As they digested this information, a commotion outside the medical bay caught their attention. Through the transparent walls, they saw a group of Iconians being led through the facility, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing with curiosity and excitement. "That must be Lyria and her group," Maya said, recognizing the striking Iconian female at the front. Captain Donovan entered the medical bay, his expression a mix of exasperation and amusement. The Harmony Seekers, as they're calling themselves now, are quite the handful. We've set up a secure facility with simulated human environments for their cultural training. Robert nodded approvingly. Good thinking. They need to understand our customs before we can safely integrate them into society. As they discussed the Iconian situation, Dr. Ileana Cortez and her Iconian partner Lyra burst into the room, carrying several sleek devices. "We've done it," Dr. Cortez exclaimed, her eyes shining with triumph. "We've developed a stable version of the personal harmony devices. They should help regulate genetic stability in hybrids and potential candidates." Lyra stepped forward, her antenna quivering with excitement. "We're ready to begin mass production immediately. These devices could be the key to preventing unexpected mutations and ensuring the long-term success of the hybridization program." As Robert and Maya examined the devices, which resembled elegant wristbands, a holographic message appeared in the center of the room. Admiral Jure's imposing figure materialized, his exoskeleton patterns pulsing with an urgent rhythm. "Robert, Maya," he said, his resonant voice filling the room. "In light of recent developments, I request an immediate meeting with you both. We must discuss the future of the hybridization program and address the concerns raised by the Iconian High Command." Robert and Maya exchanged a glance, their enhanced connection allowing them to communicate without words. They knew that this meeting could determine the fate of human-Iconian relations. "We'll be there shortly, Admiral," Robert replied, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. As they prepared to leave the medical bay, alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Captain Donovan's communicator crackled to life, filling the room with a frantic voice. "Sir, we've detected multiple pure Earth cells mobilizing worldwide. They're targeting harmony chambers and energy grids powered by harmony batteries. We need to act fast." The room erupted into a flurry of activity. As Robert and Maya moved to join Captain Donovan, Dr. Morgan called out to them, "Wait, there's something else you need to know about your mutations. It could be crucial in dealing with this crisis." Robert and Maya paused at the doorway, their enhanced senses already picking up the heightened tension throughout the facility. They turned back to Dr. Morgan, knowing that whatever she was about to reveal could change everything. Everything. Robert and Maya exchanged a glance, their enhanced connection allowing them to sense each other's anticipation. "What is it, Dr. Morgan?" Maya asked, her voice urgent. Before Dr. Morgan could respond, the facility shook with a violent tremor. Alarms blared even louder, and the room's holographic displays flickered with urgent warnings. "We don't have time," Captain Donovan interrupted. "We need to move now. The pure Earth cells are converging on our location." Robert nodded, his eyebrows furrowed. "We'll have to deal with this crisis first. Dr. Morgan, we'll reconvene as soon as possible." As they rushed out of the medical bay, Robert and Maya were met with a scene of controlled chaos. Hybrid Response Unit members were escorting civilians to safety, while others manned defensive positions. The couple made their way to the Central Command Center, where they found Admiral Jure's hologram engaged in tense communication with Earth's military leaders. "The situation is escalating rapidly," Jure reported, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing with urgency. "We've detected multiple pure Earth cells mobilizing worldwide. They're targeting harmony chambers and energy grids powered by harmony batteries." Robert stepped forward, addressing both the human and Iconian leaders. We need a coordinated response. Captain Donovan, deploy your HRU teams to protect key installations. Admiral Jur, can you provide orbital support to track and intercept pure Earth movements? As strategies were quickly formulated and put into action, Maya's attention was drawn to a commotion near the facility's main harmony chamber. She grabbed Robert's arm, pointing towards the source of the disturbance. Look, it's Lyria. They watched as Lyria broke away from her group and made a beeline for the harmony chamber. Her antenna quivered with excitement and tenacity. She's going to attempt the hybridization process, Maya realized aloud. We have to stop her. It's too dangerous with everything that's happening. Robert and Maya sprinted towards the chamber, their enhanced physical abilities allowing them to cover ground at an incredible speed. They reached the entrance just as Lyria was about to step inside. Lyria, wait, Robert called out. It's not safe. We're under attack, and we don't know how the current situation might affect the hybridization process. Lyria turned to them, her large, expressive eyes filled with a mixture of fear and tenacity. I must do this, she said, her voice trembling slightly. I've come too far to turn back now. Our two species need this union more than ever. Before Robert or Maya could respond, the chamber's automatic systems activated, recognizing Lyria as a viable candidate. The door sealed shut, and the hybridization process began. No! Maya exclaimed, pressing her hands against the chamber's transparent walls. We need to shut it down. Dr. Morgan and her team rushed into the room, their faces pale with concern. We can't interrupt the process once it started, Dr. Morgan explained, her fingers flying over the control panel. It could be fatal for Lyria. The chamber hummed with energy, bathing Lyria in a soft, pulsating light. At first, the process seemed to be progressing normally. Lyria's form shimmered within the energy field, her Iconian features beginning to subtly shift. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. The chamber's energy reading spiked dramatically, and arcs of light began to dance across Lyria's skin. What's happening? Robert demanded, turning to Dr. Morgan. The scientist's eyes were wide as she analyzed the incoming data. Her Iconian physiology is reacting differently than we anticipated. The energy levels are off the charts. Instinctively, Robert and Maya activated their personal harmony devices, attempting to stabilize the growing energy fluctuations. As soon as they did, a strange resonance effect occurred. They felt a sudden connection to Lyria, their hybrid energy signatures linking with her transforming body. The facility's power grid began to overload, causing lights to flicker and equipment to short out. Emergency systems kicked in, diverting excess energy to the Harmony batteries. The sudden influx of power caused a cascading effect throughout the local energy network, temporarily boosting power output in the surrounding city. Captain Donovan burst into the room, his face grim. We need to evacuate non-essential personnel immediately. Pure Earth forces have breached our outer defenses and are advancing on the facility. As if to punctuate his words, a distant explosion rocked the building. Robert could hear the sounds of combat growing closer. Maya, stay here with Dr. Morgan and help stabilize Lyria's transformation, Robert ordered. I'll coordinate with Captain Donovan and the HRU to repel the attack. Maya nodded, her eyes never leaving the chamber where Lyria's form continued to shift and change. Be careful, she said, her enhanced connection with Robert allowing her to convey a depth of emotion beyond words. Robert rushed out with Captain Donovan, his mind racing with strategies to defend the facility and protect the hybridization program. As they reached the command center, another hologram flickered to life. This time, it was Dr. Eliana Cortez. Robert, we've finished analyzing the data from your recent mutations, she reported urgently. The advancements in your hybrid physiology might be the key to resolving this crisis. But we need you and Maya to. Her words were cut off as another explosion rocked the facility. Closer this time. Robert steeled himself for the battle ahead, knowing that the fate of human-Iconian relations hung in the balance. As alarms blared and the sounds of combat grew nearer, he prepared to face the pure Earth forces, unaware of the extraordinary transformation taking place within the Harmony Chamber that would soon change everything. Everything. The facility shuddered as another explosion rocked the building, closer this time. Dust rained from the ceiling, and the lights flickered ominously. "We don't have time for this," Robert said, his voice firm. "Dr. Morgan, we'll have to address the mutations later. Right now, we need to secure the facility and protect Lyria." Maya nodded, her eyes fixed on the Harmony Chamber, where Lyria's form continued to shift and change. "I'll stay here with Dr. Morgan. We need to stabilize her transformation." "Good," Robert replied, turning to Captain Donovan. "Let's coordinate our defense and push back the pure Earth forces." As Robert and Donovan rushed out, Maya placed her hand on the chamber's transparent wall, focusing her energy on stabilizing Lyria's transformation. The next few hours passed in a blur of frantic activity, with the sounds of combat echoing through the facility's corridors. When the dust finally settled, the pure Earth attack had been repelled, but the cost was high. Several parts of the facility lay in ruins, and numerous staff members were injured. As the immediate crisis subsided, the true scale of the challenge became apparent. Reports flooded in from around the world, detailing similar attacks on hybridization facilities and alarming instances of uncontrolled genetic mutations among the hybrid population. The situation demanded immediate action. Robert, Maya, and the newly transformed Lyria gathered in the command center with Admiral Joer, Captain Donovan, and Dr. Morgan. The holographic displays showed a world in turmoil, with red dots indicating crisis points across the globe. "We need to act fast," Robert said, his enhanced senses picking up the tension in the room. "If we don't stabilize the hybrid population, we could be looking at a global catastrophe." Admiral Joer's hologram pulsed with concern. "Agreed. We've prepared a plan to address the most critical areas first. New York City has reported the highest concentration of affected hybrids. That should be your first stop." Maya studied the data scrolling across the screens. "What about the pure Earth threat? They'll likely try to interfere with our efforts." Captain Donovan stepped forward, his face grim but determined. "My team will provide security for your mission. We'll coordinate with local law enforcement to ensure you can work without interruption." As the group finalized their plans, Dr. Morgan approached with a concerned expression. "There's something you should know before you leave," she said, addressing Robert, Maya, and Lyria. "Our initial analysis shows that your combined energy signatures have a potent stabilizing effect on other hybrids. It's possible that your presence alone could help regulate the mutation process." Lyria, still adjusting to her new hybrid form, nodded thoughtfully. "Then we must go where we're needed most. Our people, both human and Iconian, are counting on us." Within hours, the trio was aboard a high-speed transport, racing towards New York City. As they approached the sprawling metropolis, they could see the effects of the crisis from the air. Parts of the city were dark, power grids overloaded by the surge of unstable hybrid energy. They touched down in Central Park, where a temporary Harmony Chamber had been hastily constructed. A sea of anxious faces greeted them as they disembarked, hundreds of hybrids lining up for treatment. The air crackled with nervous energy, and Robert could sense the fear and uncertainty radiating from the crowd. "Let's get to work," he said, leading Maya and Lyria toward the chamber. As they entered the structure, their combined energy signature immediately began to affect the surrounding area. The air shimmered with a soft, pulsating light, and many in the crowd visibly relaxed, their own unstable energies calming in response. The next several hours were a whirlwind of activity. Robert, Maya, and Lyria worked tirelessly, using their enhanced abilities to create localized energy fields that helped regulate the mutation process in other hybrids. To their surprise and relief, the stabilization process proved faster and more effective than initially projected. As the sun began to set over the New York skyline, the trio took a brief moment to rest and assess their progress. The line of hybrids seeking treatment still stretched for blocks, but the atmosphere had shifted from one of panic to cautious hope. "We're making a difference," Maya said, her voice tinged with exhaustion but filled with purpose. "But there's still so much to do." Robert nodded, his enhanced senses picking up snippets of conversation from the crowd. Among the voices of gratitude and relief, he detected undercurrents of fear and resentment. Not everyone was happy with their presence or the changes sweeping across the globe. As if in response to his thoughts, a commotion erupted at the edge of the park. A group of protesters had gathered, waving signs and chanting slogans against the hybridization program. At their head stood a charismatic figure, his voice carrying across the crowd. "Citizens of Earth, hear me," the man called out, his words capturing the attention of those nearby. "I am Victor Graves, and I speak for those who have been ignored in this mad rush towards a so-called unified future. We demand stricter regulations on the hybridization program and a full accounting of its risks." Robert exchanged a concerned glance with Maya and Lyria. They had expected resistance, but the appearance of this new voice, articulate, persuasive, and clearly influential, added a new layer of complexity to their mission. As Graves continued to speak, rallying supporters to his cause, Robert's communicator buzzed with an incoming message. It was Captain Donovan, his voice tense. "We've uncovered a network of pure Earth sleeper cells," Donovan reported. "They're planning coordinated attacks on hybridization facilities worldwide. We're mobilizing to counter the threat, but you need to be on high alert." Robert acknowledged the warning, his mind racing with the implications. As he turned back to the Harmony Chamber, prepared to continue their vital work, he knew that the challenges ahead were far greater than they had initially believed. The fate of two species hung in the balance, and the next steps they took would be crucial in shaping the future of human-Iconian relations on Earth. As the chaos unfolded around them, Robert's communicator buzzed again. This time, it was Dr. Morgan, her voice urgent and excited. "Robert, you need to get back to the facility immediately," she said. "We've made a breakthrough with Lyria's genetic structure." Robert exchanged glances with Maya and Lyria. "We're in the middle of a crisis here, Doctor. Can it wait?" "I'm afraid not," Dr. Morgan replied. "This discovery could change everything. It's about Lyria's evolving biology." Sensing the gravity of the situation, Robert made a quick decision. "Captain Donovan, can you handle things here?" Donovan nodded grimly. "Go. We'll hold the line." As they rushed back to the research facility, Robert briefed Maya and Lyria on the situation. The city blurred past them, the streets filled with a mixture of chaos and hope as news of the successful hybridization spread. Upon arrival, they found the facility in lockdown. Security measures had been heightened in response to the pure Earth threat. Dr. Morgan met them at the entrance, her eyes wide with excitement and trepidation. "Follow me," she said, leading them to a secure lab. Inside, holographic displays filled the air with swirling DNA strands and complex molecular structures. Dr. Morgan gestured to a particular sequence, highlighted in pulsating blue. "Lyria's genetic structure is emitting a unique pheromone-like substance," she explained. "It's harmless to humans, but it has a powerful effect on Iconians. It's enhancing their receptivity to hybridization." The implications hit Robert like a thunderbolt. "You mean?" "Yes," Dr. Morgan confirmed. "Lyria could be the key to accelerating and stabilizing the entire hybridization process." Before they could fully process this information, alarms blared throughout the facility. Captain Donovan's face appeared on a nearby screen, his expression grim. "We've got a situation," he reported. "During a raid on a suspected pure Earth cell in Berlin, we encountered advanced weaponry, possibly Iconian in origin." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Maya was the first to speak. "A leak within the program?" Donovan nodded. "It's possible. General Blackwood has ordered a full investigation into all hybridization facilities." As they digested this news, another alert came through. It was Admiral Jur, his holographic form materializing in the center of the lab. "In light of recent developments," the Iconian leader began, "we've made a decision. The United Nations and Iconian High Command are accelerating the hybridization program. New Harmony chambers will be constructed in strategic locations worldwide." Robert stepped forward. "Admiral, with all due respect, is that wise? We're already facing significant opposition." Jur's expression was resolute. "We believe it's necessary. The genetic template derived from U3 will be used to refine the process. It's our best chance at stabilizing the hybrid population and countering the pure Earth threat." As the Admiral's hologram faded, the lab erupted into a flurry of activity. Dr. Morgan and her team began preparing data packets for distribution to the new facilities. Robert, Maya, and Lyria found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of preparations. Over the next few days, reports flooded in from around the globe. New Harmony chambers were becoming operational at an unprecedented rate. The refined hybridization process, incorporating the unique genetic markers from Robert, Maya, and Lyria, proved more stable and efficient than ever before. But with progress came new challenges. In major cities, the activation of multiple Harmony chambers created localized energy fields that interfered with Earth's electromagnetic spectrum. Global communication networks flickered, and power grids fluctuated unpredictably. As scientists scrambled to develop shielding technology, a new threat emerged. Victor Graves and his Pure Earth movement launched a vicious propaganda campaign, releasing doctored footage of hybrid individuals losing control of their abilities. Robert watched one such video, his eyebrows furrowed in anger. The footage showed a supposed hybrid unleashing uncontrolled energy blasts in a crowded market. It was clearly fabricated, but the damage was already being done. "We need to counter this," he said, turning to Maya and Lyria. "People need to see the truth about hybridization." Maya nodded in agreement. "A global tour? We could visit the new Harmony chambers, show people the benefits firsthand." Lyria, still adjusting to her new hybrid form, stepped forward. "I'm ready. Our people, both human and Iconian, need to see what's possible when we come together." As they prepared for their first stop in Rio de Janeiro, reports came in of Pure Earth cells arming themselves with stolen Iconian weaponry. The Hybrid Response Unit, under Captain Donovan's command, implemented stringent security measures around hybridization facilities worldwide. The tension was palpable as their transport touched down in Rio. A massive crowd had gathered around the newly constructed Harmony chamber, a mix of supporters and protesters. As Robert, Maya, and Lyria stepped onto the platform to address the gathering, the air crackled with anticipation and underlying fear. Robert took a deep breath, preparing to speak. But before he could utter a word, a series of explosions rocked the perimeter of the facility. Pure Earth extremists had launched their attack, testing the limits of the new energy shields protecting the crowd. As chaos erupted, Lyria's unique pheromone-like emissions intensified. The Iconian members of the security force seemed to react instantly, their movements becoming more fluid and precise as they engaged the attackers. Robert and Maya activated their Harmony devices, creating a protective field around the civilians. Through their enhanced connection, they could sense the fear and persistence coursing through the crowd. As the battle raged, reports flooded in of similar attacks on Harmony chambers worldwide. The global crisis they had feared was unfolding before their eyes, and the future of human-Iconian relations hung in the balance. Amidst the chaos, Robert's communicator buzzed once more. It was Admiral Jure, his voice filled with purpose. "I'm deploying the Iconian fleet to assist in Earth's defense," he announced. "We cannot stand idly by while our shared future is threatened." As Iconian ships appeared in the skies above Rio, Robert realized that the hybridization program had reached a critical turning point. The lines between human and Iconian affairs were blurring, and the path forward was fraught with both danger and promise. With pure Earth forces pressing their attack and the world watching, Robert, Maya, and Lyria prepared to make their stand. The future of two species would be shaped by the events unfolding in Rio and beyond, and they were at the heart of it all. The global crisis unfolding before their eyes in Rio de Janeiro was just the beginning. As Robert, Maya, and Lyria worked tirelessly to stabilize the situation, reports of similar attacks on Harmony chambers worldwide flooded in. The appearance of the Iconian fleet in Earth's skies marked a turning point in the conflict, but it was clear that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges. After securing the Rio facility and assisting in the cleanup efforts, the trio received new orders from General Blackwood. Their next destination, Beijing, where a newly constructed Harmony chamber awaited activation. The flight to Beijing was tense, filled with strategic planning and urgent communications. As their transport descended towards the sprawling metropolis, Robert gazed out the window, taking in the city's blend of ancient architecture and modern skyscrapers. The Harmony chamber stood out among the buildings, its sleek design a stark contrast to the surrounding structures. "We've got a situation," Maya said, her eyes fixed on her communicator. "The local authorities are reporting a large gathering outside the facility." Lyria leaned in, her brow furrowed with concern. "Protesters?" "No," Maya replied, surprise evident in her voice. "They're demanding to participate in the hybridization process. Apparently, news of our success has spread faster than we anticipated." As their transport touched down, the scale of the gathering became apparent. Thousands of Chinese citizens had flooded the streets surrounding the Harmony chamber, their voices rising in a cacophony of excitement and impatience. Local police struggled to maintain order as the crowd pressed forward, eager to be among the first to undergo the hybridization process. Robert exchanged glances with his companions. "This enthusiasm is encouraging, but it could quickly turn dangerous if we don't act fast." Maya nodded in agreement. "We need to expedite the activation process. It's risky, but it might be our only option to prevent a riot." With grit, the trio made their way through the crowd, escorted by a phalanx of security personnel. As they entered the facility, Lyria's unique pheromone-like emissions intensified, causing a ripple of calm to spread through the nearby Iconian staff members. Inside the chamber, Robert and Maya began the activation sequence, while Lyria monitored the energy levels. Suddenly, an alarm blared and a holographic display flickered to life. "Robert, we're detecting an anomaly in the Earth's magnetic field directly above the chamber." Dr. Morgan's voice came through, tinged with urgency. "Similar disturbances are being reported at other sites worldwide." Before Robert could respond, the chamber hummed to life, its energy field expanding rapidly. Outside, the sky above Beijing erupted into a brilliant display of swirling colors, an aurora-like phenomenon visible even in the bright daylight. The crowd's agitation turned to awe as they witnessed the spectacle. Thousands more poured into the streets, their eyes fixed on the shimmering lights above. Inside the chamber, Robert, Maya, and Lyria channeled their combined energy into the activation process. The magnetic anomaly intensified, creating a vortex of light and energy that descended towards the facility. Suddenly, the vortex collided with the chamber's energy field. A massive surge of power overwhelmed the systems, causing a non-destructive shockwave that rippled through the surrounding area. Electronic devices within a mile radius flickered and died. As the system stabilized, Robert, Maya, and Lyria emerged from the chamber, their senses reeling from the unexpected energy surge. They were met with a scene of confusion and wonder. Hundreds of people in the vicinity reported experiencing a momentary connection to the hybrid energy field. Minor but noticeable genetic changes had occurred in many of the onlookers, their bodies shimmering with faint traces of hybrid energy. Captain Donovan's voice crackled through Robert's communicator, cutting through the chaos. "We've got a new problem. Pure Earth has infiltrated major tech companies. They've gained access to global communication networks. We're initiating a worldwide cybersecurity lockdown." As the implications of this new threat sank in, Robert noticed Dr. Morgan's face appear on a nearby screen. "The Beijing incident is making global headlines," she reported. "World leaders are calling for emergency meetings with the Iconian High Command. The uncontrolled spread of hybrid traits is raising serious concerns about containment and long-term effects." Robert watched as the sky above Beijing pulsed with energy, the Harmony Chamber at the center of a growing field of hybrid influence. Reports streamed in of similar phenomena occurring at other hybridization sites around the world. Amid the confusion, Admiral Zhu's holographic form materialized before them. "We're deploying Iconian atmospheric regulators to all major Harmony Chamber sites," he announced. "It's a necessary step to manage the expanding hybrid energy network." As debates raged in diplomatic circles, Robert, Maya, and Lyria found themselves at the epicenter of a transforming world. The boundaries between human and Iconian societies were blurring faster than anyone had anticipated. Their communicators buzzed simultaneously with an urgent message from the United Nations Security Council. The trio was being summoned to an emergency session in New York to address the accelerating pace of human-Iconian integration. As they boarded a high-speed transport for New York, Robert cast one last glance at the transformed Beijing skyline. The pulsing energy field above the Harmony Chamber served as a vivid reminder of the irreversible changes taking place on Earth. The transport lifted off, leaving behind a city forever changed. As they soared towards their next challenge, Robert couldn't help but wonder what new surprises awaited them in New York, and how they would navigate the increasingly complex landscape of human-Iconian relations. The transport surged forward, leaving behind the pulsing energy fields of Beijing and carrying Robert, Maya, and Lyria towards their next challenge in New York. As they approached the sprawling metropolis, the trio couldn't help but notice the heightened security measures in place. Police checkpoints dotted the streets, and military vehicles patrolled the avenues. The usually bustling city seemed to hold its breath, tension palpable in the air. Their transport touched down on a secured landing pad near the United Nations headquarters. A heavily armed escort awaited them, their faces set in unwavering commitment. Robert exchanged a glance with Maya and Lyria, silently acknowledging the gravity of the situation. "Welcome to New York," a stern-faced official greeted them. "We'll be escorting you directly to the Security Council chamber. Please follow me." As they made their way through the corridors of the UN building, Robert noticed subtle changes in the demeanor of the staff they passed. Some seemed to radiate a faint energy, their movements more fluid and purposeful than before. He leaned in close to Maya, whispering, "Are you seeing this?" Maya nodded, her eyes scanning the faces around them. "It seems the hybrid influence has reached further than we thought." Upon entering the Security Council chamber, their suspicions were confirmed. Several world leaders, once vocal opponents of the hybridization program, now exhibited telltale signs of hybrid traits. A faint shimmer to their skin, an otherworldly gleam in their eyes, unmistakable evidence of genetic alteration. The chamber buzzed with tense energy as the meeting commenced. A holographic display materialized in the center of the room, showcasing data from the Beijing incident. Dr. Morgan's voice echoed through the chamber as she presented the findings. The unplanned hybridization event in Beijing affected over 10,000 individuals, she reported, her voice steady despite the weight of her words. The degree of genetic alteration varies, but we're looking at a new demographic of accidental hybrids. This presents unprecedented challenges for our healthcare and social systems. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Robert watched as the faces of world leaders contorted with a mix of concern and fascination. Before anyone could interject, another urgent report flashed across the screens. "We're receiving data from NASA and other space agencies," a technician announced. "The hybrid energy fields are expanding beyond Earth's atmosphere. They're creating a visible aura around the planet, interfering with our orbital communications and navigation systems." The chamber erupted into chaos as delegates argued over the implications. Amid the commotion, Robert noticed Lyria stiffen beside him. Her eyes widened and a faint, sweet scent began to permeate the air. "Lyria," Maya touched her arm, concern etched on her face. "What's happening?" I can't control it," Lyria whispered, her voice strained. "My pheromone production is surging." As the scent spread through the chamber, a remarkable change came over the assembled delegates. The heated arguments died down, replaced by a sense of calm and understanding. Robert watched in amazement as former adversaries began to nod in agreement, their faces softening with newfound empathy. Seizing the moment, Robert stepped forward. "Esteemed members of the Security Council," he began, his voice clear and confident. "We stand at a critical juncture in human history. The hybridization process is accelerating beyond our initial projections, but we have an opportunity to guide its course." Maya joined him, adding, "We propose the creation of a global network of harmony nexus points. These specialized facilities will help regulate and stabilize the growing hybrid energy fields, serving as centralized hubs for managing the hybridization process and mitigating its unintended effects on Earth systems." The chamber fell silent as the delegates considered the proposal. Robert held his breath, acutely aware of the weight of this moment. Then, one by one, heads began to nod in agreement. "The Security Council approves the Harmony Nexus Point Initiative," the Secretary General announced, his voice resonating through the chamber. "This marks a new chapter in Earth's approach to human-Iconian integration." As the news of the decision spread, Robert's communicator buzzed with incoming reports. Celebrations erupted in cities around the world, supporters of the hybridization program taking to the streets. But these joyous gatherings were met with counter-protests, the voice of dissent rising to meet the cheers of approval. Amidst the global reaction, Captain Donovan's face appeared on a nearby screen. "We've intercepted intelligence about a coordinated Pure Earth operation," he reported, his expression grim. "They're targeting the proposed sites for the Harmony Nexus points, and they're armed with hybrid-derived tech." Before Robert could respond, Admiral Jur's holographic form materialized beside them. "In light of this threat, we're forming a joint human-Iconian defense force," he announced. "We'll deploy Iconian warships to strategic locations around Earth to protect the Nexus points and other critical infrastructure." As the Security Council session drew to a close, Robert, Maya, and Lyria found themselves facing a new mission. The Secretary General approached them, his eyes gleaming with a hint of hybrid energy. "We're entrusting you with overseeing the construction of the first Harmony Nexus point," he said. "We've selected a remote island in the Pacific Ocean for the prototype facility. You'll depart immediately." Within hours, they were airborne once more, leaving behind a transformed New York City. As their transport soared over the shimmering skyline, Robert gazed out at the hybrid energy field enveloping the city. The sight filled him with a mix of awe and trepidation, a vivid reminder of the monumental task that lay ahead. Beside him, Maya studied a holographic display of the Pacific Island site. "Construction teams and materials are already en route," she reported. "It seems the whole world is mobilizing for this effort." Lyria nodded, her eyes distant. "The fate of two species rests on what we build there," she said softly. As their transport sped towards the Pacific, carrying them towards the next phase of their journey, Robert couldn't shake the feeling that they were hurtling towards a future none of them could fully comprehend. The first Harmony Nexus point awaited them, a beacon of hope in a world teetering on the brink of irreversible change. The transport touched down on the remote Pacific island, its engines whirring to a halt as Robert, Maya, and Lyria stepped onto the pristine beach. The air was thick with humidity, carrying the scent of salt and tropical vegetation. As they surveyed their surroundings, the tranquil scene belied the monumental task that lay ahead. A group of construction workers approached, their faces etched with concern. The lead engineer, a stocky man with a weathered face, greeted them with a firm handshake. "Dr. Chin, we've got a situation," he said, his voice tight with worry. "Our geological surveys have picked up some unusual seismic activity." Robert furrowed his brow, exchanging glances with Maya and Lyria. "How unusual." The engineer pulled out a tablet, displaying a 3D model of the island's subterranean structure. "We've discovered a previously unknown tectonic fault line right beneath us. It seems to be interacting with the hybrid energy fields in ways we don't fully understand." Maya leaned in, her eyes scanning the data. "This could complicate our construction plans significantly. We'll need to implement additional safety measures immediately." As if to underscore her point, a slight tremor rippled through the ground beneath their feet. Trees swayed, and loose pebbles skittered across the beach. The construction crew exchanged nervous glances. Lyria closed her eyes, her antennae twitching slightly. "The energy patterns here are different," she murmured. "More intense than what we experienced in Beijing or New York." Despite the geological concerns, Robert knew they had to press forward. The fate of human Iconian integration hung in the balance. "We'll adapt our plans," he announced to the assembled team. "Let's get to work on those safety measures." Over the next few days, the island buzzed with activity. Construction crews worked around the clock, laying reinforced foundations designed to withstand seismic disturbances. Engineers pored over geological data, fine-tuning their plans with each new tremor. As Robert oversaw the installation of energy dampeners, his communicator chirped. Captain Donovan's face appeared on the screen, his expression grim. "We've got movement on the pure Earth front," he reported. "A large convoy is heading your way. Intel suggests they've acquired advanced submarine tech." Robert's expression resolute. "Any idea on their ETA?" "Not yet, but we're tracking them closely. Admiral Zhur is deploying a fleet of Iconian vessels to patrol the waters around the island." As if on cue, a low hum filled the air. Robert looked up to see sleek, silvery shapes gliding through the clouds, Iconian ships taking up defensive positions around the island. The next morning, as Robert made his rounds of the construction site, he noticed something odd. Workers moved with unusual grace and efficiency, their movements fluid and purposeful. A faint shimmer seemed to dance across their skin. He found Maya examining a holographic display of the island's energy grid. "Have you noticed anything different about the workers?" he asked quietly. Maya nodded, her expression troubled. "It's Lyria. Her pheromone production has increased dramatically. It's accelerating the hybrid traits in the humans and Iconians here." As if summoned by their conversation, Lyria approached, a sweet scent wafting around her. "I can't control it," she said, her voice strained. "The energy here, it's affecting my biology in ways I don't understand." Before they could discuss further, a violent tremor shook the island. Alarms blared as workers scrambled to secure equipment. Robert's communicator lit up with an incoming transmission from Dr. Morgan. "The Harmony Nexus Point's energy signature is growing faster than we predicted," she reported, her voice crackling with static. "It's interacting with the island's geology, creating localized gravitational anomalies." As if to illustrate her point, a nearby stack of metal beams suddenly lifted off the ground, floating eerily before crashing back down. Workers stumbled, some reporting feeling lighter or heavier at random intervals. Amidst the chaos, a breakthrough emerged. Dr. Morgan's voice cut through the din once more. We've just received word from our colleagues in Japan. They've developed a method to channel excess energy from harmony chambers into Earth's power grid. This could solve our global energy crisis. The news brought a glimmer of hope to the beleaguered team. However, their respite was short-lived. The island's unstable nature grew more pronounced with each passing hour. Cracks appeared in the newly laid foundations, and the frequency of tremors increased. As Robert and his team worked tirelessly to stabilize the rapidly deteriorating situation, the Iconian ships patrolling the waters suddenly sprang into action. The sky lit up with energy blasts as they engaged an unseen enemy beneath the waves. Pure Earth submarines, Maya shouted over the din of battle. They're launching a coordinated attack. The island shuddered violently as an underwater explosion rocked its foundations. Alarms blared throughout the facility as the main energy core of the Harmony Nexus Point began to overload. Robert's mind raced as he assessed their options. The island was breaking apart, and they needed to evacuate immediately. But abandoning the Nexus Point could lead to a catastrophic release of hybrid energy. As he, Maya, and Lyria raced towards the core control room, Robert knew they were facing their greatest challenge yet. The fate of the Harmony Nexus Point, and perhaps the future of human-Iconian integration, hung in the balance. Balance. Hung in the balance. Robert's heart raced as he, Maya, and Lyria sprinted towards the core control room, dodging falling debris and leaping over widening cracks in the floor. They burst into the control room, fingers flying over holographic interfaces as they worked to stabilize the overloading core. Sweat beaded on Robert's forehead as he rerouted power, his eyes darting between fluctuating energy readouts. It's not enough, Maya shouted over the blaring alarms. We need to evacuate. Suddenly, Lyria gasped, her antennae quivering. Wait, I can feel it. The energy patterns are shifting. Before anyone could respond, a blinding flash engulfed the room. When the light faded, Robert blinked in astonishment. The tremors had ceased, and the energy readings had stabilized at unprecedented levels. What just happened? He breathed, looking around in wonder. Maya's eyes widened as she examined the data. The core. It's reconfigured itself. It's operating at efficiency levels we never thought possible. As they marveled at this unexpected turn of events, Robert's communicator chirped. Dr. Morgan's face appeared, her expression a mix of excitement and concern. Robert, we have a situation, she said, her voice tight. The hybrid traits among the construction workers, they're spreading faster than we anticipated. Robert exchanged worried glances with Maya and Lyria. How bad is it? Dr. Morgan's image flickered as she sent over a data packet. Several workers are now exhibiting enhanced pheromone production, similar to Lyria's, though not as potent. We're concerned about the potential for uncontrolled spread beyond the established harmony chambers and nexus points. The implications of this news hit Robert like a physical blow. They had to act fast. We're on our way, he said, terminating the call. Turning to his companions, he added, Looks like our work here is done for now. We need to get to the main research facility immediately. Within hours, their transport touched down at the sprawling complex that served as the nerve center for the hybridization program. The facility buzzed with frantic activity as scientists and researchers rushed to understand and contain the new phenomenon. Dr. Morgan met them at the entrance, her usually immaculate lab coat wrinkled from hours of non-stop work. Thank goodness you're here, she said, leading them through crowded corridors. We've isolated the affected workers, but their pheromones are still influencing others in close proximity. They entered a large observation room, separated from a quarantine area by thick, transparent walls. Inside, a group of construction workers moved about, their skin shimmering faintly with the telltale signs of accelerated hybridization. Lyria approached the barrier, her antennae twitching as she sensed the pheromones. Their output is significant, she murmured. Not as strong as mine, but enough to cause noticeable changes in non-hybrids nearby. As they watched, a team of scientists in protective suits entered the quarantine zone to collect samples and run tests. Robert couldn't help but notice the grace and efficiency with which the hybrid workers moved, their actions fluid and purposeful. Maya studied a holographic display of genetic data. "The rate of change is incredible," she said, her voice a mix of awe and concern. "At this pace, we could see widespread, uncontrolled hybridization within weeks." Before Robert could respond, his communicator buzzed. Captain Donovan's grim face appeared on the screen. "We've got trouble," he reported. "Pure Earth is exploiting the situation. They're targeting areas with high concentrations of these accidental hybrids, using fear to boost their recruitment." Robert's mind focused. "What are we doing to counter this?" "I've mobilized the Hybrid Response Unit," Donovan replied. "We're working to protect vulnerable communities and push back against their propaganda. But it's an uphill battle." As if the situation wasn't complex enough, another call came through, this time from Admiral Zhur. The Iconian leader's holographic form materialized in the center of the room. "In light of recent developments," Zhur announced, his multifaceted eyes gleaming, "I've authorized the deployment of Iconian medical teams to assist in managing the spread of hybrid traits." Robert could already imagine the political fallout from this decision. "Admiral, with all due respect, that might complicate things further. Some nations are already wary of increased Iconian presence on Earth." Zhur's expression remained impassive. "The alternative is allowing the situation to spiral out of control. We must act decisively." As the implications of these developments sank in, Dr. Morgan approached with a tablet in hand. "We've just received word," she said, her voice tight with urgency. "The global summit in Geneva is still proceeding as planned. World leaders are gathering to discuss the future of the hybridization program." Robert, Maya, and Lyria exchanged determined looks. They knew where they needed to be. "Prepare our transport," Robert said, already moving towards the exit. "We're going to Geneva." As they boarded the sleek aircraft that would take them to Switzerland, Robert couldn't shake the feeling that they were racing against time. The future of human Iconian integration hung in the balance, and the decisions made in Geneva would shape the course of history. Little did they know that as they sped towards Europe, Pure Earth forces were already mobilizing for their most audacious operation yet. The skies over Geneva grew dark with gathering storm clouds, a fitting backdrop for the momentous events about to unfold. As their aircraft touched down in Geneva, Robert, Maya, and Lyria were immediately thrust into a whirlwind of activity. The city buzzed with tension, world leaders and delegates streaming into the United Nations complex for the crucial summit on the future of human Iconian integration. But their plans for Geneva were abruptly derailed. As they disembarked, an urgent message from Dr. Morgan flashed across Robert's communicator. "Emergency in Tokyo. New Harmony chamber activation gone wrong. Your presence required immediately." Without hesitation, the trio rerouted their transport, setting course for Japan. As they flew eastward, reports flooded in, painting a grim picture of the situation unfolding in Tokyo. They touched down in a city transformed. The heart of Shibuya, normally a vibrant tapestry of lights and sounds, lay shrouded in an eerie twilight. The new generation Harmony chamber loomed at the center of the chaos, its pulsing energy field visible even from a distance. As they approached, the full scale of the crisis became apparent. Throngs of people surged against the security perimeter, a mix of fervent supporters and angry protesters. The air crackled with tension and the faint scent of ozone. Captain Donovan and his hybrid response unit met them at the edge of the crowd. "Glad you're here," he shouted over the din. "It's a powder keg." They pushed through the mass of bodies, the crowd parting reluctantly before them. Robert felt the weight of countless eyes upon them, some filled with hope, others with fear and suspicion. As they neared the chamber, a sudden surge of energy washed over them. Robert stumbled, his skin tingling. Around them, cries of shock and confusion erupted from the crowd. He turned to see several bystanders doubling over, their bodies shimmering with the telltale signs of rapid hybridization. "The chamber's energy output is off the charts," Maya reported, her eyes fixed on a handheld scanner. "It's accelerating hybrid transformation in non-hybrid individuals." They rushed into the control room, finding it a hive of frantic activity. Technicians scrambled from console to console, their faces etched with panic. "What's our status?" Robert demanded, taking in the chaotic scene. A harried-looking engineer turned to them, his face pale. "We've lost control of the core systems. Energy output is spiking beyond safety parameters." Robert and Maya sprang into action, their fingers flying over holographic interfaces as they fought to regain control. Lyria stood by, her antennae quivering as she monitored the fluctuating energy fields. Suddenly, the lights flickered and died. Emergency generators hummed to life, casting the room in a dim red glow. Outside, the Tokyo skyline went dark, block by block. "We've overloaded the city's power grid," Maya announced grimly. A violent tremor shook the building. Alarms blared as new warnings flashed across the screens. "Sabotage detected," a computerized voice intoned. "Security breach in sectors 3 and 5. Captain Donovan's voice crackled over the comm system. "We've got Pure Earth operatives in the building. They're armed and dangerous." The sound of gunfire erupted from the hallway. Robert's mind raced, assessing their options. They needed to stabilize the chamber, neutralize the saboteurs, and contain the spreading hybrid energy, all while protecting the civilians caught in the crossfire. "Maya, focus on the core systems," he ordered. "I'll coordinate with Donovan's team to secure the facility." As Maya worked feverishly at the controls, Robert turned to Lyria. The Iconian skin had taken on an unsettling glow, pulsating in rhythm with the chamber's energy spikes. "Lyria, can you absorb some of this excess energy?" he asked, concern etching his features. She nodded, her expression determined. "I'll do what I can, but the output is immense. I'm not sure how long I can contain it." As Lyria began to draw in the surging energy, Robert's communicator chirped. Admiral Jur's holographic form materialized before him. "The situation has escalated beyond our initial estimates," the Iconian leader reported. "I'm deploying our fleet to create a containment field around Tokyo. We must prevent this hybrid energy surge from spreading further." Robert's reply was cut short as another explosion rocked the building. Through the windows, he saw sleek Iconian ships descending from the sky, their appearance sending fresh waves of panic through the crowds below. The crisis was spiraling out of control. As Robert raced to coordinate their response, he knew that the events unfolding in Tokyo would reshape the future of human-Iconian relations forever. The next few hours would determine not just the fate of this city, but potentially the course of human evolution itself. As the crisis in Tokyo reached its zenith, a sudden shift in priorities pulled Robert, Maya, and Lyria away from the chaos. An urgent summons from the United Nations Security Council demanded their immediate presence in New York City. With the fate of human-Iconian relations hanging in the balance, they had no choice but to leave the Tokyo situation in Captain Donovan's capable hands. Their transport touched down in Manhattan just as the Emergency Security Council session was convening. The trio rushed through the corridors of the UN building, their footsteps echoing in the tense silence. As they approached the chamber doors, Robert turned to his companions. "Remember, we need to present a united front," he said, his voice low and urgent. "The future of our species depends on what happens in this room." Maya nodded, her eyes fixed on the tablet containing their findings. Lyria's antennae twitched, sensing the nervous energy permeating the building. As they entered the chamber, The assembled world leaders turned to face them. The room crackled with tension, each delegate bearing visible signs of the ongoing hybridization process. Some sported faint luminescent patterns on their skin, while others had developed subtle Iconian features. Robert stepped forward, preparing to address the council. But before he could speak, Lyria suddenly stumbled, her body racked by an intense spasm. A brilliant glow emanated from her skin, pulsing in rhythm with her rapid breathing. "Lyria," Maya asked, concern etching her features. "What's wrong?" The Iconian's eyes widened, a look of panic spreading across her face. "The energy. It's too much. I can't contain it." Without warning, a wave of intense pheromones burst from Lyria's body, quickly filling the chamber. The effect on the gathered leaders was immediate and profound. Eyes glazed over, bodies tensed, and a collective gasp echoed through the room. Robert watched in amazement as the world's most powerful individuals were drawn to Lyria, their newly hybridized DNA responding to her pheromones. The Iconian's voice cut through the haze, urgent and commanding. "I need." "Pleasuring," Lyria declared, her words sending a ripple of shock through the assembly. "Now, to stabilize the energy." Recognizing the volatile nature of the situation, Robert acted swiftly. "We need to get her out of here," he muttered to Maya, "before things spiral out of control." Together, they flanked Lyria and guided her towards the exit. As they moved, the gathered leaders began to follow, drawn by an irresistible force. The procession spilled out of the UN building and onto the streets of New York. Lyria's pheromones continued to spread, affecting everyone in their path. Humans and Iconians alike joined the growing crowd, their bodies shimmering with hybrid energy. Robert and Maya exchanged worried glances as they realized the scale of what was unfolding. "Central Park," Maya suggested, pointing towards a vast green space. "It's our best option for containment." They rushed towards a park, the swelling crowd in tow. As they entered the heart of the greenery, something extraordinary began to happen. The very air seemed to shimmer and pulse, responding to the combined hybrid energies of the assembled throng. Before their eyes, a spontaneous harmony chamber formed around Lyria. Tendrils of energy wove together, creating a dome of pulsating light. Robert's mind raced, grasping the potential of this unexpected turn of events. "Maya," he said, his voice tight with urgency, "I think we need to guide this. Whatever it is, a ritual maybe?" She nodded, understanding immediately. "Agreed. We need volunteers from the crowd." Each interaction with Lyria could stabilize and spread the hybrid energy. As if on cue, individuals from the gathered mass stepped forward. Robert and Maya began to direct them, creating a circle around Lyria. One by one, they approached the Iconian, each touch resulting in a brilliant flash of energy that rippled through the crowd. The ritual intensified, the hybrid energy field expanding rapidly. It enveloped all of Manhattan, then spread outward like a shockwave. Overhead, satellites captured images of a shimmering dome of energy racing across the globe. Within hours, the energy field touched every continent. Inside its embrace, humans and Iconians experienced a shared consciousness unlike anything in recorded history. Barriers of misunderstanding crumbled, replaced by a profound empathy and unity. As the ritual reached its crescendo, Robert found himself at the center of the maelstrom. The world around him pulsed with energy, every cell in his body vibrating in harmony with the universe. In that moment, he understood that humanity had crossed a threshold from which there was no return. The energy field began to dissipate, revealing a world transformed. Humans and Iconians now shared a common genetic structure, the best traits of both species seamlessly blended. The last vestiges of conflict between the two races melted away, replaced by a sense of shared purpose and understanding. As the glow faded from Lyria's skin, she stood tall, her eyes shining with newfound clarity. "It is done," she said, her voice carrying across the now silent park. "We are one." Robert looked out at the sea of faces surrounding them, each bearing the marks of their shared hybrid heritage. The world had changed in ways he could scarcely comprehend, and he knew that the real work was only just beginning. "We need to address the Global Council," he said, turning to Maya and Lyria. "They'll be gathering to discuss our next steps." As they made their way back towards the UN building, now a symbol of a united Earth, Robert couldn't help but marvel at the path that had led them to this moment. From Lyria's first arrival to this global transformation, it had been a journey beyond his wildest imagination. Yet as they approached the council chambers, he knew that this was not an ending, but a new beginning. The newly hybridized Earth stood on the brink of joining the galactic community as a full member, and the challenges ahead would test their newfound unity in ways they could not yet fathom. With Maya and Lyria at his side, Robert stepped forward to face the future, ready to lead humanity into its next great adventure.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.